This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A very good morning to everybody far and wide from the Masai Mara here in Kenya. Welcome to your Sunrise Safari. Now, my name is Lauren, and on camera I do have Big James. And it's a very chilly morning this morning. I think it's 18 degrees Celsius and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is rather chilly. Now, don't forget to talk to us today. Use that hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or the YouTube chat stream, whichever you prefer. And do send in your questions and lovely comments. Now, quick update. I'm just going to get James to show you this beautiful patch of grass, really. This is exactly where we were last night with Queen Busara, the cheetah, and her kill. Now, I always like to finish a story. I like to see things all the way through. So I thought it would be worth to come down and just check on the situation. Obviously, I didn't expect to see Busara, but I was expecting to see some sort of remains of that Tommy, or at least some other animals around. And there's nothing. Nothing at all. I've actually got my binoculars out, because I'm trying really hard to see if I can see anything in that grass that resembled what I saw last night. And I honestly can't. I can't see any remains of the Tommy at all, or anything. So that's the story finished, I guess. I was expecting maybe to see a jackal or two, or a hyena, or even a vulture, but no, nothing. So Busara was well fed last night, as many of you seen. I'm not worried about her at all. But obviously, the carcass has been completely moved and relocated. So it doesn't seem to be anything around here at all. It has obviously been picked up and moved. So we are just going to scan this area a little bit now that the sun is coming up and we're getting light. And then, of course, we will drive on and bumble around. So I have to say I am just a little bit surprised, but I do always like to check up on things the following morning. For me, it's always worth it. Oh, apparently I'm getting compliments on my sugar colours. Oh, thank you. I do really, really love it. I literally don't get in the car without it anymore. And for some reason, I wake up and I always put on shorts. It's habit, I think. And it isn't until you're driving and the cold wind hits your face that you think, oh, shorts was probably not the best idea. But then when the sun comes up, it gets too hot. So there's really no happy medium here, to be honest. So we are going to continue moving forward. Going to go really slowly to see what I can see around here. Andrea said something and I just completely missed it because I was blabbing on about something, but Faith will repeat it for me. I think I heard you right, but let me just get it repeated as a look around. Oh, I thought it was that. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Is it? I have no idea. I know when St. Andrew's Day is for Scotland, of course, but is it St. Patrick's Day? Fabulous. Happy St. Patrick's Day too. A celebration of all those Irish people out there. So, we have nothing. Nothing around us at all. Very funny. I just sometimes wish we had CCTV on all the animals out here. I'd love to know the stories and how our story from last night managed to finish and completely change on us. But of course there is no CCTV out here. And I guess we will never ever know what happened to Busara or her carcass. Now, as many of you know, I'm just going to start driving now and scan around as we drive. So as many of you know, she was very high alert last night. Busara kept scanning, looking around. She knew, cheetahs know that they've only got a limited amount of time before something will come along and try to steal what she is eating. So she knew it was just a matter of time, and she was trying to pace herself and get as much in her stomach as possible before that happened. And obviously, at some point last night, it did happen. So it isn't just me out this morning, of course, there's other people. So we're going to send you all the way down to South Africa to say good morning to Rusty.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Djuma in the Greater Kruger National Park. We are on Safari Live, as you know. My name is Rusty, and behind the camera is Craig. He'll be joining me this morning, most of the morning. If I don't like him, I just get rid of him some way. It's quite easy. Okay, we do have a plan. We're going to head to the Djuma Hyena clan that has made den just around the corner here, so we're just going to see if it's active this morning. It is still very cool and the sun has still not risen, so we are hoping that the cubs are going to be active, or at least some feeding or some socializing going on there. Okay, it is a bit cool this morning, not too bad. We are waiting on that winter that's approaching very quickly, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Not many of us are, but yeah, it's something we just have to prepare for. Just a few more layers of clothing. But it is actually the first morning in a very long time since I've been here, since we've actually had a sunrise, or we're hoping we're going to have a sunrise. We've got clear skies, not a cloud up there. But we had a very interesting night last night with the amount of power cuts. Our country is going through what we call stage 4 power, what would you call it? Load shedding is the key word. And yes, we get to about 3-hour power cuts. Load shedding is the keyword, yes. Load shedding. So the generator is not far from my bedroom window. So each time the power goes off, the generator kicks in. So I fall asleep to the hum of the generator, which is not easy, but it muffles all the other sounds you're supposed to hear in the bush. It's one of the reasons why we're here. So, yes. But we're hoping in the next few months, I'm sure the power problems will be sorted. We're not the only ones having it, and the generator does help. Good morning, Fleetwood. Do I ever see big snakes out here? I've only been here for 16 days and I've seen 2 snakes. One literally about that size, which was a small puff adder, which I almost ran over on the road, but we got it off the road in time. And then another one was a spotted bush snake, which was released. Yes, you do get large snakes here. The African rock python, for example, you get them up to 3 meters and more, but averaging about 2.5, 3 meters. But they are harmless, they are constrictors. I suppose if you do put your arm in, lie down and ask it to curl around you, then there's a problem. But otherwise, no, if you keep out their ways, they're pretty harmless. But that's about the largest snake we have. We have other ones, the black mambas, which vary in size, but they also get up to about 2.5 meters. But they normally get out the way. They normally are scared of you as you are of them. Especially if they hear the vehicle coming or hear us walking, they get out the way. And I love to see them, so if we do get to see them, it's quite exciting. Any of the snakes. And as winter approaches, we will be seeing less and less of them. Yeah. Oh, the light is slowly changing. We've actually got a golden horizon there, but I think we're still in what you call infrared. Megan, you caught a baby snake today. Did you ID it? And is it wise for you to be catching snakes if you're not too sure what they are? Or do you know what species it was? What kind it was? Because you have to be very careful. Obviously, most of the snake bites that do happen are people that end up picking up snakes that they think they know or trying to release. I'm hoping you did release it. It was a catch and a release. But I hope you did know which one it was. I do have a high respect for snakes. So yeah, I do recommend to ID them fully before you go ahead and move them, or call in somebody who's an expert on snakes. Ooh. We actually have quite a lot of elephant dung around here. Fresh elephant dung. I'm just going to go back, but I think it's actually not as fresh as I would like, but I think it's from yesterday. We're just hoping to find them today as well. If it does heat up today and gets very warm, we might see some activity around the watering holes, which would be quite fun. If not this morning, tomorrow morning. Duma, I believe your name is. How do the horses react on safari to, what is the reaction to? To snakes. That's a good question. I've encountered a few snakes on horseback. We normally just watch them at a distance if we can see them on the road. You know that small snake I was telling you about earlier, the puff adder? That gives you a warning. It's like a very loud hiss. It inflates and then lets out this very, very big hiss. And my horse actually picked up on it before I did and stopped dead. And I was expecting something to be around the circumference of the horse. But it was actually about 5 meters in front of me, and it was only a puff adder about that size. And it was just warning us. We could hear the footsteps approaching. And then we heard it, the horse stopped, and then we moved out the way. But generally, no, the horses don't really react too much. Obviously, they're quite hard to see, snakes, especially if they move that quickly. But yeah, they seem to be fine with it. Yeah, well, we're still on the way to our hyena den. And I'm going to link you over to Lauren and a beautiful bird, I think it is. Well, at least she's got the sun shining.
Look at this. Right on the top of this tree, we have 2 crowned cranes. Look at them. This is the first time that I have seen them perched up on the top of the tree like this. Isn't that fabulous? I don't know why, I just find that completely fabulous. For being quite a large bird, shall we say, they're really, really perched up there, delicately balanced. I can't imagine that's so easy, being perched up like that. It doesn't look too stable to me. I'm not sure I would want to be the one up the top of that tree there, but I guess these guys are more than happy, giving them a great vantage point up there. Wow. Now, we did actually have some great crowned crane sightings yesterday, and we discussed them at length yesterday. Linda's saying wow. Yes, wow. I don't know why, I just find this really stunning this morning. And of course, they are monogamous birds. Monogamy is actually one of my favorite topics. We have discussed it at length many times. I just find it utterly fascinating in the animal kingdom. And very often they're found in the male and female pairs. I honestly haven't seen crowned cranes that are not in their sort of duo. I would love to see it in a different situation. So this is most likely a male and female, but it's just so difficult to differentiate between the two. They just look incredibly similar. The male will be bigger, marginally, but it's just very, very difficult to tell when you're looking at these birds. So it's obviously morning time. They're feeling quite safe, delicately balanced on the top of this tree here. They're sort of preening themselves, having a good old ruffle of those feathers, getting ready for the day ahead, I guess. Fantastic. Look at that. Child of the Universe is asking an interesting question, actually. And do the big raptors hunt crowned cranes? Crowned cranes is such a mouthful for me. I'm not sure why. I'm actually not 100% sure if they do go for crowned cranes. But if I was to make a guess, I would indeed say yes. Because they are very often found foraging on the ground. They are quite a decent-sized bird. They're obviously quite tall with a relatively large body. So they would indeed make a good snack, I believe, for many of the larger raptors. Look at that wingspan. What are you doing? So I haven't indeed seen this, but I do believe that they would, of course, make an ideal snack for a raptor. Now, as many of you know, we are just beginning a Martial Eagle project right at the start of it, and I will be announcing more to do with this very, very soon, I promise you. And we obviously get information when there has been a kill by a Martial Eagle bird. And what the data from the GPS tag brings up is phenomenal. There was data the other day about one of the pairs, I believe it could have been the olive pair, killing a hare then killing a bird of some sort, a very large bird. I'm not sure if they were quite able to identify what bird it was, but it was large from the remains, and a dictic. So this is actually what the Marshall Eagles went for, a huge array of animals in different sizes there, from hares to birds to very small mammals. So I would imagine that a raptor could indeed go for a crowned crane. But in answer to your question, I'm genuinely not sure about that, child of the universe. So that was just a lovely sighting to see those two birds perched up on the tree like that. So we will continue on, of course, on our original journey. Rosemary's talking about the birds in the trees like that. Isn't it just... I've never seen the crowned cranes anywhere other than the ground, to be honest. I can't stop looking at it. It's just lovely. And they are my favourite bird out here. I'm absolutely in love with them. And to see them at the top of the tree like that was just incredible. What a lovely morning sighting. And of course, all the balloons are up. You can see all the hot air balloons up ahead. It is getting to that time of the morning. And I do believe we have a very large traffic jam up ahead in the form of an elephant. Oh dear, I love it when you get all these traffic jams. You know, sometimes when I'm down in Juma, we of course do have a daily morning meeting. And sometimes people are not able to make it back in time for the morning meeting because there is indeed a roadblock. And it's very, very funny when you just read the messages from people saying, sorry, we're going to be late, traffic jam. So yes, indeed, there is traffic in the bush. Now, unfortunately, there's a vehicle in front of us, so I can't actually give you a very good look at this elephant. But it's beautiful. It's sauntering right towards us. Oh, what a shame. So I'm going to have to go back. Oh, this is incredible. How can I let you all see this elephant? Let me just try and reposition. It's walking right towards the cars. But this vehicle's blocking our view. Come on, car, move out my way. Not moving fast enough. Yay, I think you're getting a little view of it. Look at that elephant. Yes, with the balloon in the background. Isn't that crazy? Now it's just sauntering across the road. Fabulous. It looks like its tusks have been sort of cut in some way. It doesn't look like the normal formation of dust. Look at that left tusk. Yes, it's just walking very, very slowly. Now I think I shall just reverse a little bit just to sort of make sure it's got space. Now this is a very relaxed elephant, for anybody wondering. I'm not in any worried or doubt about this right now, but it just is important to give the animal some space. I'm just going to try and completely move out the way for it. Ruma's saying, what an impressive elephant bull. Yes, indeed, it is. Now, I think I'm just going to go down here and actually move out the elephant's way completely, because if I keep reversing, then I'm on the path. Yes, yes. So sometimes it's better just to stay a little bit quiet. There we go, boy. Just watch his behaviour. Oh my goodness. Was incredible. They just sauntered right past us. There was absolutely no aggression in their behaviour. But if I had kept reversing back, I'm still blocking his path. He's walking along the road. And if I was actually reversing back on the road and he's walking on the road, that's probably actually going to stress him out even more. So it's best to actually just move off the road and let him go completely. I'm not sure, did you put the elephant on camera there, James? No, not sure why, but he did go right past us there, so that was absolutely fantastic. And he's away off into the distance. I'm sure you heard the rumble. He did have a good look at us, but as long as the elephant's not giving you any body language which makes you concerned, then you're fine. But it was important to get off that road there, just to let him continue on his journey. He's choosing to walk on the road, so we get off the road. So now this is going to be very entertaining, watching Lauren get off this road now. There is another vehicle, let me just check. Not sure where it's gone. That was incredible, what a morning sighting. I haven't had an elephant walk that close to me in quite some time. There we go, that wasn't too bad, was it? I managed to get out. Fabulous. So yes, the forms of roadblocks and traffics in the bush are just... oh, I'll never get tired of it. I've never been one to actually work in a city. I don't think I've ever worked in a city. But of course I did go to universities in Scottish cities. And obviously there was traffic and transport issues there. And I have to say I much prefer being out here and having a roadblock in the form of an elephant than I do being in any sort of city and having traffic there. There's a great feeling being this close to an animal. Now I'm just going to pull over because there is a truck driving very fast. There we go. Let the fast ones go on as we bumble along. So that was just an amazing sighting. Anyway, I believe the bushwalk team are out and ready to say good morning. So let's go down to Tristan.
Well, indeed, we are out on bushwalk this morning. It's a beautiful, beautiful start. There's a bit of low-lying kind of mist with the impalas that are around quarantine, and there's a few that have gone up onto a termite mound where they are just taking it easy and having a little bit of a look around. But my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Sebastian this morning, and it's an awfully wintry feel here in Djuma. It's quite cold, actually. Hey, Seb, it's cold this morning, isn't it? It's cold and kind of misty, which is generally how it feels often in the winter time. And so I wonder if it's now a start of a change of season. I suppose it is that time of the year where the season should start changing. It's also a lot of moisture that's on the ground that will be coming off, given that we have no clouds this morning. So hopefully we'll have a really good bushwalk. Hopefully it will be a nice one. It's going to be good from an insect point of view, because when it's cold like this, the insects don't move all that much. They'll tend to spend most of their time sitting on plants and various other things. So from an insect kind of standpoint, I think we'll be okay and have a good walk. In terms of animals, well, we're not really sure what we're going to go and do. At this stage, we decided we'll just head southwards. There were lots of leopard tracks in the south yesterday morning for, male and female. There was also lots of ellies around yesterday morning. We didn't see many yesterday afternoon, but there was yesterday morning they were around. So from an animal point of view, we'll kind of head in that direction for those animals. Lions, I don't think we'll see. Seb said he heard some up in Buffalo's Hook, which would have been the evokers. They were seen yesterday in Buffalo's Hook. And then down this side of the world, the Nkuhumas were on the bottom side of Chitwa Airstrip, or 5 of them, and then the rest were in Arathusa. So it's possible that they might have moved through. Hukamuri is still on a big impala kill, and Shadula and the cubs are quite fast. So I don't think any of those animals will be on the cards today. But let's see. I mean, you never know. A lot can change in the night, and things can be, very different to what you expected them to be. So we'll see what we'll get. It certainly is a beautiful, beautiful start to the day, and it's nice for it not to be raining for a change. It seems as though every morning this week there's been a bit of rain that's kind of started the morning out, and so nice that it's not raining and that we can get a dry start to our day. And it should be a really, really pretty morning. We should get a really nice sunrise. We've got a bit of mist, we've got impalas, we've got greenery, all very, very pleasant for being out on foot. Right, now we were talking about ellies and saying there was a lot around yesterday here in Djuma, but in the Mara, that's, well, pretty much par for the course. Is every day there's ellies there, and it sounds like Lauren has caught up with some of them.
So we found the rest of the elephants then, and we just turned a corner, and here is a whole herd of elephants. And look at that balloon in the background. Isn't that a gorgeous sighting? So not entirely sure where that bull was wandering off to, but he was obviously on a mission of his own. And here we have the whole herd. Absolutely stunning. Sometimes the elephants here can be quite far away, so you have to do quite some zooming in to get to them. But these elephants are right at the side of the road, which is just an incredible feeling and an incredible sighting for me. Now, it's a mixed aged group. You can see there's lots of different sizes here. Some young ones, some medium ones, and some much older ones. Now, if we look at this one that James just had in the shot, look at the size of those tusks. They are humongous. Just the one in the background, James. That one there, right in the middle at the back. If we can take a closer look, you can see the tusks are absolutely humongous. There we go. And you can see they're actually starting to meet in the middle and cross over. What a big girl she must be. And then when you compare it to that really, really small one in the middle there, who's sort of just trying to get the tusk protrusion there, it's very, very sweet. Now you can see that these two adults here have started streaming from their temporal gland just behind the eye there. You can see it's a sort of darker patch. And this is, of course, normally quite common within a group of females because it sort of relates to emotion. So they can get very excited when they all see each other. That one is so sweet. When they see each other and they sort of greet one another, they can get very excited. So it can also relate to stress, but it can relate to excitement. And you can see here, they are actually all streaming. Oh, look at this small one. Good morning. Now, Faith is asking a question, and unfortunately this morning, for some reason, I'm having terrible comms breakup, so I heard question, and that is all I heard. I've got nothing else. I'm not sure quite what is wrong with my comms this morning. So I heard, do elephants sleep? And that's all I'm getting. So I'm not sure of the full question, so I'm going to embellish. Somehow. I don't know what is wrong, but I'm not hearing Faith properly at all. We're having a little bit of trouble. So with regards to... So Faith keeps asking the question, but I'm not getting it, so I'm just going to go for it. So elephants are indeed very interesting when it comes to sleeping. So when it comes to the young ones, like this one that James has shown you right now, they do need to sleep a lot more than the adults. So they actually will lie over on their side, and very often the adults and the older ones will sort of circle around it or huddle around it while the very small one rests on its side. Now, as for the adults, they can actually sort of have a snooze standing up, if you like, something that I could never do. But they can actually stand up, close their eyes, and sort of have a rest for a little while. However, I have seen adults also on their side, when they do just lie down and collapse onto their side, which is a really, really lovely thing to see when it's an animal of that size. But however, they can sleep standing up. So I do think that was your question, but unfortunately I don't... Oh, look at that one giving himself a mud bath right at the back there. Oh, it's just gone behind another elephant, but it was chucking mud all over his face. I love it when they do that. It's obviously very soothing for them, for their skin. It's not too hot just yet, however... It must feel really good to just chuck all that dry mud over your body. Now, I've just noticed something. Look at the funny tail on the small elephant. Let's just see if James can figure out what one I'm talking about. Faith, I know you're talking to me, but I've not got comms. I honestly cannot hear what you're saying. I'm so sorry. So yes, this elephant here, look at the tail. It's missing. You can just see a sort of stumpy, strange... rear end with no tail. I hope you can all see that. James will get us a closer look. There we go. There's no tail. I wonder what has happened. Maybe it was born like that, or there's been some sort of injury. I don't imagine it would have been any sort of predator. It's very young. You can see the way you can using its trunk. Oh, what a little shame. Now, I did get that. I'm going to fix my comms now so I can be able to continue answering your questions. But for now, let's head down to Tristan.
Well, it's this pretty spectacular sunrise that we've got this morning. There's this mist layer that is running along basically the Mulwati, and up over it is coming this big golden orange sun that is kind of highlighting that mist and sort of making it glow at this stage. It really is absolutely beautiful. Sometimes it's good just to appreciate these things and kind of come and sit somewhere where you can get a really good view of it. So we kind of came up onto this termite mound. It's a termite mound we've used many times. I mean, we've probably, I think as presenters, all of us have got some sort of a screenshot of being on this mound, but there's a reason for it. It's just the most beautiful spot, particularly when you get a kind of a natural sort of thing like this where the mist is coming down into the valley and then that sun rising over the back. It's just absolutely beautiful. And Seb and I were thinking of all the animals that would be good to see in mist like this. We were saying ellies would be absolutely beautiful with this sort of backdrop of the sun and the mist. I always obviously go for something like a leopard in a tree with that sort of silhouetting behind it. Also lions, big male lion, maybe walking across the quarantine roaring, and with that as a backdrop, would also be quite special too. So, you know, these kind of things, when you sit here, you've got to sometimes just admire what it looks like. And I believe Seb is doing a very good job of showing you what it looks like, and that you all are loving the kind of view that we've got this morning. It really is very, very pretty. Sometimes, like I say, just nice to stop and take it in. It's actually a good time to sit quietly and maybe just listen to some of the sounds that we've had this morning. It's nice because there's a few dawn chorus sounds that are around, the odd birds, but just very, very pretty in general. Diana, I suppose this links to what we were talking about yesterday, in terms of would I like to take my grandparents on bushwalk. We were chatting yesterday, if you weren't watching, and somehow this is a coincidence, which will be funny in some respects, but we were talking yesterday about who would you most like to take on a game drive, and I said my grandparents. In terms of bushwalk, yes, I would have loved to have taken them. My grandparents were quite big into birds, so it would have been nice to do a bit of birding, and they were also a lot into trees and things like that. And so I think it would have been really interesting just to walk around and kind of discuss many of the things that we have out here. For one, I mean, bushwalks that I like to kind of see smaller things, and then get lucky and find some of the big animals, do a really nice approach on them. So it would have been nice to maybe walk ellies. My grandmother, her favorite animal was elephants, so that would have been quite nice. But yes, I think so. I think anybody that's lived out here would like to take their family or grandparents, parents, whoever it may be, out into the bush and have them experience it with them. I think, especially as a guide, it's very, very cool to have your family with you. I mean, I would love for my brother to come and spend time out as well on walks. He's really fond of nature, so it would have been nice for him to be here. Anyway, we are going to carry on our walk. We're going to go see if we can find something in this mist and this beautiful sunrise. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Rusty, who I think has arrived at the den.
Good morning and welcome back. We had an interesting we intercepted our hyena on the move. So we had to do like a quick 360 and head back the other way, but she disappeared off into another block where we could not follow her. But generally when she's on a mission like that, it's very hard to keep up. And I think she was on the move to find food. She had her nose in the air and she was heading. It was very hard to keep up, but we lost her, sadly. So we headed back to the den and we've just arrived. And it doesn't look like anybody's here. No, it's very quiet. There's a bit of fresh activity on the ground, but no sign of any individuals. Nope, looks very quiet. I think wherever she was going, I'm not too sure who it was. She just literally just ran straight past us. She barely paid us any attention. So I'm guessing she's on the move for food. Either the lions or a leopard had killed something, because she was just running and walking, running and walking. We battled to keep up with her. And normally when they're when they're on the move like that, it generally means there's food somewhere. Christy, question. Have I ever seen a brown hyena? Yes, I have, but I've only been here 16 days in this reserve, and I have not seen any here yet. But it doesn't mean they're not around. They do live in the same areas as spotted hyenas, but I have not seen any here. Where I used to work before, I have seen them there, and growing up, I've seen them on quite a regular basis. But no, sadly, I've not seen one yet, but obviously, it's always exciting times when we do get to see them. But most of the hyenas we get here are the spotted or laughing, if you want to call them that. Okay, well, we're just going to do a loop around, see if we can keep finding them, see if we can find the tracks, or see. I actually want to go back to where she disappeared and see if the others are joining her. She was on a mission, heading quite quickly, and the others might just be dragging behind her. But we will come back here if we don't have any luck there, and see if maybe one of the mothers will come back and feed one of the youngsters. Okay. Now, I believe the lions there was quite a lot of activity of lions here last night, or in the neighboring property, and if they had killed something, it could mean that that's where she's going. And obviously they got a very good sense of smell, or if one is found already the kill or a leftover of a kill, or even if the hyenas have made a kill, they might have communicated and we might not have heard them, and that's where she might have gone. I did not get to ID her because she ran past me so quickly, but she is one of the females. There was a notch in the ear, but I couldn't see how many notches or where exactly it was. It's like by the time my ID book came out, and I had to do a quick 360, but we lost her. But hopefully we'll catch up. But we did have a brief visual of an elephant bull crossing the road. He was on a mission, obviously trying to find females, so we left. We didn't have time to capture that. But it's a fresh morning. There was a bit of a low-lying mist settling in, and watching the sunrise was gorgeous. But it's a start of a new day and exciting things ahead. Oh, Lauren, that's a good question. Is there any difference between the tracks between a brown hyena and a spotted hyena? Yes, there is, but unless I know the difference side by side, it's generally the spotted hyena has got a very large front paw and a very small back paw in comparison to each other, while the brown hyena's got actually a very similar sized track on both the front and back. They don't carry as much weight as spotted hyenas do when they scavenge for things. They don't have that muscular power to pick up a huge carcass as the spotted hyenas do. So I think they don't need as much bigger feet to control the weight. While the spotted hyenas have got these massive feet and massive shoulders to carry such big weight to drag their kill back to the den, or just to hide the carcass or whatever they pick up. So there is a difference, but unless you see them side by side, or actually get to see them on a regular basis, it's very hard to tell the difference. They do have the same kidney-shaped toes as spotted hyenas, so it's very difficult, and the same claw marks. But and they've got obvious, they paste quite a bit in areas. They have this gland where they go around, and like spotted hyenas do as well, but their marking scent glands for brown hyena is very obvious. Very, very obvious, and the smell is quite overpowering when you walk past it, especially if you walk past it and rubs on your leg. It's not that nice. Okay. Talking about hyenas, Lauren, I believe, is having better luck than we are. We're going to head back over to Lauren in the Mara.
It's on you. Live. Oh, okay. Apparently I'm live. Well, I am not getting anything in my earpiece, which is a little bit of a disaster, shall we say. However, James kindly passed a message on that I am live. I do wonder what on earth is going on with my technology. However, we just had a full... Well, we had, what, 5, I think, hyenas cross the road. That sounds like the start of a really bad joke. And you can see they're just slinking off into the distance here. And I have no idea which hyenas they are. We're not at the North Clan area. That's where we're actually travelling to, but we keep getting stopped by all these wonderful animals that decide to stand on the roads, and you can just see them there. Look at them go. There was a very young one with them as well. I have absolutely no idea what they're doing. Now, I have got my phone in my hand, which may look like I'm being very rude. I'm not. I don't appear to be getting anything in my ear. So I've got my phone in my hand just in case I can actually need to find out what is going on. I'm not sure what entirely is wrong this morning. But since the hyenas have slinked off, we are also going to slink off, just probably not so gracefully. And as I mentioned, I was going to pop in to the North Clan just to say good morning for a very short while. Like to keep up with the dynamics there. Every time we go, we tend to see something completely different. So at least if we pop in, say good morning. Oh, I hear Faith now. Fabulous. Okay, I hear her now. I have no idea what's going on. I do apologise. I will try and fix it. But for now, let's send you down to the bushwalk with Tristan.
Well, we are still sitting and admiring the beauty that is the sunrise. It's just through the mist has created this soft golden light that is running through all kinds of grasses, and things like the cat's tail have really kind of grabbed it. But the other thing that has grabbed the sort of light is the spider web that is over here. And I always think that looking at spider webs when they're backlit like this is so pretty, because they're kind of bits of dew that gather, as well as the silk catches the light, and you get this really kind of defined structure. You can actually really get a sense of what a spider web looks like and how it's designed and how it's actually built by the spider itself. Now, this particular spider is absolutely tiny. It's a small little dot right in the middle, but it's got this very kind of circular web that goes round with lines that come out, which are obviously anchor points, that it's attached to the 2 wide-winged sesames on each side. And then in the middle, obviously, it's now created these kind of concentric sort of hexagonal circles, if you want to call them that, that are going to be the sticky area that when insects come along, they're going to stick in there and kind of be grabbed. But like I say, sitting and looking at spider webs in this kind of light is always so pretty, and it's worth just kind of taking the time out to have a look. You know, this particular spider, I doubt it would be anything like the garden orb we had a few days ago in terms of its ability to catch huge amounts of food. Also, it's still a little bit cold now for things like flies and the various things to be flying around just yet. So this will be coming to effect a little bit later. But for now, it's more just about absolutely kind of taking in nature's beauty and seeing what's going on. And Seb is being very artistic and walking through the long grass as he kind of approaches the sun, and he's got, like I say, all of this cat's tail that's really kind of grabbing the light. So, Giraffe Girl, you say it's amazing that size web was for such a small spider. Like I say, that little spider is less than the size of my pinky nail. It's very, very, very small. And so that's why it's incredible when you see that they build these huge webs. But they do it obviously because if you think in the grand scheme of how big this place is, if something is flying along and it kind of goes in and it gets grabbed, then obviously it's got a bit of an issue. Now, there's 2 webs that we've got, so just be careful, Seb, because there's another one. No, you'll be fine. This is the garden orb that we've got here. So the other one that is that the one you were on? Okay, I thought you were on a different one. But anyway, this is a garden orb, which is a different spider, a big, beautiful spider. I was looking at another web just now. There's quite a few of them that are in between here, but very, 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 very pretty. This is more along the lines what you would expect from an orb web. They have those huge kind of webs that they spin, and obviously the stabilimentum, which is typical for this particular orb web species. And then the spider kind of sitting in the middle, but absolutely beautiful. You can see a few little dewdrops on the web itself, which is very, very pretty. Anna-Marie, St. Patrick's Day question. And yes, happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you that celebrate. May it all be green and Irish and full of fun. And you're asking clovers in the bush. So here in the Sabi Sands, no. I've never seen a clover in the Sabi Sands. Not too far from here, if you go up onto the Drakensberg, so towards Mariepskop and onto that escarpment, you start to see them there. So I've seen a few of them up that side of the world, but nothing inside of the park itself. I certainly haven't. I'm not sure if maybe some of the others have, but I certainly haven't seen anything at this stage. But how cool is this spider? She is beautiful. She's quite muted in coloration. She's not as bright as the one we had the other day. She doesn't have those kind of bright sort of blacks on her anyway. She's got more of a sort of greyish tone with a pale yellow, but that's very typical for this particular species, and I reckon she's going to have the best time a little bit later in the day after it warms up. There's going to be lots of activity with the bright sunshine, and as things dry out, and she's going to probably catch all kinds of incredible things. But what's amazing when you come and you get kind of close to these spider webs is the level of detail that they have on them. It really is amazing to see. And Seb, I don't know if you can have a look here. So here is basically an anchor line that comes along, but you can see when they anchor their web, it's not just a single strand that is obviously wrapped around. You see how the web then splits out into a whole bunch of different little strands that then gets wrapped around quite a big portion of the sesame, so all the way along there. And that's just so that if any one of these little ones breaks, there's a lot more to hold on to, and it's spreading out the load of the web over a larger surface area, and so that there's more kind of flexibility and it's stronger essentially than if it was just one stay line over there. And then from there it's then anchored again down over here, and you see you've got 1, 2, 3 that go this way. Yeah. Can you see it there, Seb? Yeah. So it comes down and then it anchors in there, and then another one that comes all the way down over there, which is absolutely incredible. Now, Mushi, you wonder what the purpose is of that sort of, what would you call it, serrated abdomen that she's got, and why she would have that. I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you. It's tricky to know why she would have that shape. It doesn't really serve any purpose in terms of having a huge kind of pointy abdomen with little spikes, other than maybe just to make her look a little bit more kind of threatening to potential predators. Her coloration will do a lot of that, but maybe that kind of sort of spikiness makes her just seem a little bit more kind of hardcore, if you want to call it that. So I would imagine maybe that's why she has it. But I haven't read any reason for her to have that specific shape. It's certainly not anything to do with blending into her environment. You can see how she's sitting right in the middle of her web and not exactly camouflaged in any way whatsoever. So I don't think it's anything to do with that. I think it's probably more to signal to predators that she's dangerous, and then also probably even maybe to males that she's an adult and is sexually mature and able to mate, is when those kind of abdomen develops that way. But it's a very interesting shape. So Gizmo, not that long, funny enough. You'll be surprised how quickly these guys can spin these webs. I would say probably, I mean, I haven't noticed this web until this morning, but sometimes it takes them a good sort of day, and then they kind of complete it. When they really start to get going and they start to kind of spin these webs, it's incredible how quickly and how efficiently they do it. So I would say a day for the most part. Sometimes it can be even quicker than that, depending on the size of the web. This web is actually much smaller than the one we had the other day. The one they had the other day was probably double the size of what we have here. And so, you know, I'd imagine this would have taken her a day. What's interesting is, Seb, I don't know if you can see down here, where I'm pointing this little grass stem, there is actually a hole in her web at the moment, and that's obviously where something has landed at some point and has broken it, and you can see where she's mended it by just attaching a few lines, but she doesn't have that straight kind of appearance that she had a little bit earlier. But very, very cool to see. And what a wonderful way to spend our mornings, to admire, you know, the architecture of a spider. Anyway, good. We're going to carry on. We're going to leave this female in peace. We're going to let her carry on with her morning and dry out. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Rusty, who seems to have found some signal.
Back again. We're still on the move, but there has been some activity of wild dog as well as lions. We haven't decided which one we're going to go for yet, but we are in communication with other game drives that's going to let us know which direction the wild dogs are moving in. We are going to hopefully intercept them. At this time in the morning, they will be very mobile. It's very cool still. There's actually a low mist hanging in the air. So, yes, our plan is to try follow up. I'm going to find out on radio exactly where they are and see if we can catch up with them. Okay. Obviously, yeah, the tracks are the biggest giveaways of them moving. It's quite hard to keep up with wild dogs in such a thick area. But if they move off, obviously they leave quite a few tracks behind, so that'll be the biggest giveaway. And on one of these main roads that we go onto, these main dirt roads, the tracks show up quite nicely, especially with the sun behind. Actually sets a shadow over the track, so it's easier to pick up. But yeah, I'm hoping we can get them. But hey, there's many other animals around, and if they do move quickly, well, there's always another day. It's always an exciting time. So yeah, there's quite a bit of water around, so maybe we might be able to. How are you doing? Did you have the Madash?
Yeah, they're going straight east and going main.
And Gary Main. Okay, excellent. Thank you. On the cut line. Excellent. Well, it's nice to hear them. Cheers. Thanks very much. Well, a little brief update. They are heading down one of the cut lines. They're still moving very quickly. James, do I enjoy tracking? I love tracking. It's actually amazing thing to be able to do and accomplish. I've spent a lot of time with trackers in a lot of different countries, and I'm always astounded about how well people can track and your ability to track. Obviously, if you're born into it, it becomes this a natural thing. I am not the best tracker in the world, but I do enjoy it. I have grown up in an area where I was able to track, but it was normally like dairy cows and the odd hippo or hyenas. But yes, tracking, it's a nice gift to have and to explain to others, because it explains exactly what you have in the area. If you don't see anything, the tracks that's left behind explains everything. What you have in the area, you can basically tell how old the animal is, what condition it is, and male or female. Yeah, the tracks can explain everything. So if you can master that, you can pretty much get out here and survive quite easily, or even without tracking. But tracking plays a big role in what we do. But obviously, if we pass another vehicle, it throws the tracking theory out the window, who can tell us where they are. So yeah, these dogs are on the move, and we don't expect them to settle down anytime soon. They've got ferocious appetite, so they just keep hunting. They can kill up to about 3 animals in a day. I've seen them hunt along a river Rhine, where I used to work in Zimbabwe, and we found 2 young waterbuck calves and then killed a warthog. And they just finished it off, but it was a pack of about 35. They were on a mission, absolute mission, and they're not ferocious animals. They just got a very high metabolism and a lot of big family to feed, and they just eat very quickly. So yeah, as we're still trying to approach the area, hopefully I'll bring them to you later, we're going to head back over to Tristan.
Well, good luck, Rusty. I hope that you find them. I just got a kind of update from the guys while we were walking along, and thought that maybe we'll get lucky. We know the dogs move so much that it's tricky to be able to catch up with them, so hopefully Rusty will kind of find them. In the meantime, we're still just kind of walking and looking, and we've been trying to find small things. still very damp, the grass, and kind of wet, and that means that it's tricky to see too many of the insects. They haven't kind of come out of their hiding places yet to dry. I think they're waiting for the grass and the leaves to dry a little bit before they'll start to kind of come out and sit somewhere where we can actually see them. But the grass itself is putting on a show this morning, and Seb has been capturing some very, very pretty scenes. And, you know, with this kind of soft light, like I was saying earlier, with that sort of misty layer and then the light coming through, it's really a soft yellowy gold color this morning, and it's creating a beautiful backdrop to all the seeded grasses that we have. So at the moment, the guinea grass that's really kind of shining, like I say, the cat's tail or bristle grass is also another one. And I think if we find an area where we've got feathered chloris, we'd also have an incredibly beautiful kind of picture as that went along. But for now, it's just guinea grass that we've got. Anyway, we're going to keep moving kind of southwards at this stage. It sounds like potentially Columba may have left her kill, and so we might go and have a little look around there. Like I say, we're just kind of taking it easy this morning. There's really no rush to go anywhere or to hustle to find any sort of animals, just to kind of take it easy and see what comes our way. But we might head in that direction just for kind of go and look around. It might be interesting to go and see if she has finished the kill, to go and look at the tree and see the claw marks and kind of show you a little bit about how, you know, they're able to get up and down the trees. But that's probably the general direction we'll head. It's also a great direction for ellies, and I feel like looking at ellies today. I don't know why. I think a nice walk into some ellies would be good for the soul. What do you reckon, Seb?
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while since we've walked ellies, hasn't it? Especially in the mist, exactly. The last time I think Seb and I walked into ellies was that time when we had that epic sighting. Remember, Seb, when we had that amazing sighting in the drainage line?
Oh, yeah.
The other side, we had this really cool sighting with Seb and I, and we got onto this kind of bank of this drainage section on a termite mound, and we had this herd that came, and there was a one sub-adult young male that came right up to where we were. I mean, in fact, within almost touching distance. But because of the shape of the bank and everything, it just kind of worked perfectly that we were able to get there, and there wasn't in any way danger for us, and the elephant itself wasn't going to feel too threatened. So it was a really cool walk that we did. Feels like a long time ago. So I think it's a good time to try and find ellies again and get a nice view of them on foot, I think. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what little things get in our way. Often I try and get out and go and do these things and then get completely wrapped up in insects and all kinds of other little things at this time of the year. So we'll see how it goes. Right, we're going to keep going south. We're going to go see what we can find on our way there. And in the meantime, let's send you across to Lauren, who I think has fixed her audio issues and is bumbling about.
That I'm live this time, and unfortunately I don't have any updates for you all. We've been stuck in the exact same position trying to figure out our comms issue. So we've only just started moving. So yes, we are moving. I can hear now, which is fabulous. I don't quite know what the issue is, but apparently gaffer tape fixes everything. So with a lot of gaffer tape later, here I am, and I can finally hear Faye. So I do apologize about all that. And unfortunately, I'm no further forward with my journey. We are only just starting to make headway now. But technology, you know, there's nothing gaffer tape and a cable tie cannot fix. Exactly the same as Dive Live. Now Nancy's asking a question I'm starting to get asked on every single drive, and it is about elephants, and it's the comparison between the Mara elephants and the Djuma elephants. And I am beginning to wonder where the question stems from. I wonder if there is people that do believe that the Mara elephants are generally bigger than the Djuma elephants. I get this question a lot. And I'm not 100% sure where it comes from, but in physical appearance, I don't notice any difference. African elephants in Djuma are the same as the African elephants up in the Mara, as far as my personal opinion goes, in terms of their physical appearance. Now, in terms of their actual lifestyle, diet, and longevity, there is a difference. So because of what they eat, The main reason that elephants do die around the age of 60 approximately, on average, is due to the complete wear down of their teeth. So elephants have 6 sets of molars, and they come in at different ages throughout their lives. So what they do is the molars will come in and up through the jaw, and then they will move forward to the front of the jaw throughout the passage of time, and they will basically just wear down. And then the next molar will pop up and wear down, and it's like a conveyor belt of teeth almost. And eventually, when that last set of teeth has worn down, the elephants can't feed anymore, and it actually sounds really, really sad, but that is indeed how an elephant does pass away at the end of its life. What do we have up ahead? Is it jackals? Are you able to zoom in for us, James, and see exactly what it is that's running away? I think it's a pair of jackals. So yeah, that is indeed how elephants do pass away, due to the complete wear down of their teeth, where they're actually not able to feed anymore. So it does sound very sad, but that is of course the end of an elephant's life, and that is how it works. So they do come in at different ages. And I'm not 100% exact, but it's roughly the first molar will come in at the age of 1. The second set of molars come in around 2. The third is around 6. And then I believe it jumps to around 15, 28 years. And then the last set of molars approximately comes in around 47 years old. And that is the last set. So it normally lasts them until about 60, and then they wear down. So to get back to my original point, while we admire these jackals jauntily skipping away in the distance, an elephant in the Mara has a different diet from what it does in Juma. It eats much softer food, which is of course the grasses that we can see all around us, so it doesn't wear down the teeth as much as the elephants in Juma, who do of course have to eat a lot of trees and a lot of shrubbery depending on the season. So in terms of longevity, the elephants in the Mara are said to live a little bit longer because their teeth don't wear down, which I think is incredibly fascinating. But other than their diet and the lifestyle, I don't see any difference. But please do share with me any knowledge that you may have that there is a difference, because I'm not aware of it. One thing that I have picked up on, and this is just my personal opinion, not any evidence or anything like that, is that I do find the elephants in the Mara a little bit more relaxed than I do in Juma. And I've been thinking about it and thinking of the reasons why this could be, and it could just be down to environment. It's a lot more open here, you know, you can see for miles other than the long grasses. So it could be that they're just relaxed because there's a lot more space, and in Juma, it's obviously the season it is right now, the vegetation is very thick, you cannot see for miles. So it could be due to that, or it could be due to close conflict with cars, possibly. I'm really not sure. I've been thinking about it because the number of predators is definitely higher up here in the Mara, so it can't be due to that. But I've personally noticed a slight difference in their behaviour. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question, Nancy. But yeah, I do get asked it a lot, and I wonder if there is something I'm missing. But in terms of appearance, no, the elephants are the elephants, and we're about to bump into a whole load more of elephants. Is this one on the road? No, it's not on the road, but you are right on the side of the road. There's elephants everywhere today. Let's just take a look and admire them. I hate driving past them at a speed when they're this close to the side of the roads, because I don't want to give them a fright. Elephants are not great with things coming at them, especially things that are smaller than them. So I'm just going to admire this one who is right at the side of the road instead of whizzing by and giving it a fright. Beautiful, isn't it? Elephants really just are everywhere today. Maybe this will just be an elephant drive. Now, of course, elephants are said to have terrible eyesight, which is why they do react. You know that whole story about elephants and mouse getting really, really scared of mice? It's not that they're scared of... It's not that they are actually scared of mice as per se. It's just that a small thing coming at them, because they're such a large animal, is when they get scared. And it is said that they don't have great eyesight. They do have good eyesight, but if you think of the size of the elephant's head, in proportion to the size of its eyes, the eyes are quite small. So there is some papers that say they're short-sighted, and there is some papers that say they're not short-sighted. I'm not sure exactly where to go with it, but if you just look at the size of the eyes in comparison to the head, you can see that maybe the eyesight is not the main sense that they actually rely on. So a small little thing coming at them like a mouse can actually be really terrifying for an elephant. Now, I had a question, I think, from Lee. If elephants had false teeth, how long would they live for? Wow, what a tricky question. I've honestly never thought of that before. So if we implanted some false teeth in an elephant, I'm just laughing because my grandmother also has false teeth, and I'm just picturing those teeth on an elephant. I guess it could live longer. If that is the main reason that they are said. I've just got a car coming towards me, so I'm just going to move. I do apologise. Hold on. Once again, I'm blocking the road. I do have a terrible habit of doing that, so I'm just going to pull to the side so it can get past. Yeah, so if it had a full set of healthy yet false teeth, Lee, I suppose it could live a little bit longer. Now, this is obviously not thinking of the fact of old age and, of course, disease and parasites and other sort of elements that might affect an elephant. If this is just generally thinking about its teeth and the way it's feeding, then yes, I guess maybe false teeth could prolong its life. Wow, great thinking. I've never thought of that before. And of course, that's not really a serious answer. I've really no idea if it would or if it wouldn't. But that is generally what tends to end an elephant's life, is when those huge molars, and they are absolutely massive, do wear down. It just can't feed anymore. Oh. And now I have pictures of elephants with false teeth in my head. Now, when I was working as a marine biologist, I was a big advocate for sharks. And I did a lot of work with children to try and teach children about sharks. And what we did is we got some, scary looking sharks, your great whites, your tigers, your bulls, with their teeth. And we actually photoshopped false teeth, humans' false teeth, into the sharks to give them a much more approachable and friendly appearance. Now, they were very comical just to look at the sharks and to see these big pearly whites, and it was to sort of educate, sharks are not scary. You get the point. And now I just have this image of elephants with this big false teeth smile. So Lee, thank you for that image. It's made me smile this morning. I might actually do some photoshopping later on and share it just for humour. So enough of teeth. I think I've spoken enough of teeth this morning. We are on the way to the North Plant Den, but of course, who knows exactly what is going to happen. But I do believe someone in South Africa is searching for the painted variety of dogs. So let's hear his update.
So close, but so far. We are getting there slowly. They're moving quicker than we are, and they're just going through one block to the next. I don't blame them. They've got a life to live, and they have got an appetite to feed. So it's very difficult to keep up with them, but we will keep trying, and I'm hoping later we might bump into them. It's quite hard keeping up with them, but as we know, wild dogs, I think it's a gem for everyone to see. It's one of the most iconic animals that we can find here. And they have massive territory. So when they are in the area, we do make a good attempt to get to see them. So, they're moving through this long grass, or we can see sometimes the back or flick of a tail. But who knows? If they happen to be on the road, then we get a full visual. But we are a big vehicle going through very thick bush, but which we won't be doing around here. If they happen to cross the road, then we'll have a fleeting glimpse. If they happen to lie on the road, then so be it. But there is many other creatures out there that we can follow. Wild dogs, this is just an opportunity we are taking up now to get up to them. So we'll hopefully get them soon. But if not, there's others we may be able to find later. It is warming up, so we're hoping that they might slow down and hopefully pitch up next to a pan to quench their thirst and rest. But who knows? Oh, it looks like there might be some activity heading back towards us. Or I've either lost them or they moved off. Wild dogs are wild dogs. You can't exactly hold them down. We can't exactly tell them to slow down. We can only just but keep up and see if we can follow them. I don't know which pack this is. If it's a breakaway pack, I'm not too sure. But I know they haven't fed this morning, and they just seem to be on a mission. Did you have any luck? Oh, okay. But there's no visual from here, eh? Nothing, eh? Well, we can't have it all, but hey, there's others. There's always tomorrow, there's always this afternoon. But who knows? Okay, let's do a circle here and head back around. Okay, did you have any visual? Okay. Cheers, thanks. Well, not everyone's having the luck this morning, but that's just how it is. We can't have it all. Just see. Should we go down? We're just going to do a loop around and see if we can pick up their tracks, or maybe they might just do a turn around and come back across the road. Let's see if that happens. Now, I'm not too sure how many there are in this pack, and I'm not sure if they're denning anytime soon. Now, because wild dogs have such a massive territory, I have seen them, like at one time in the morning, you see them so close to camp, and the next day they're on there, like literally about 60 kilometers away. And you're like, how? Even on a boiling hot day, they seem to have this ability to move incredibly fast. And they go at this daunting pace that is they have worked out how to do without exerting too much energy. And I've tried to follow them on foot many times. I've tried to follow them on horseback many times. But once they get that jog going, it's very difficult to keep up with them. I do love wild dogs. I do love keeping up with them. But yes, we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, and I'll let you keep you updated.
Well, we are still kind of walking around, and I feel sorry for Rusty that if he's missed out on the dogs. Hopefully they'll turn or do something and come back to where he is, and he'll be able to get a chance to see them at this stage. But we can see we're kind of sitting at a big pile of poo, which is what we do frequently on bushwalk. I know it sounds weird, but we do it, and it's because poos are, well, huge ecosystems in their own right, and are a really great place to actually find new sort of plants and life that is sprouting out. And as you can see, we have a little fungus that is popped up. Which fungus this is, I'm not 100% sure. I'm trying to kind of think about all the different names that there are. I mean, I'm not very good with mushroom species, if I'm honest. It's one of those things that I've spent very little time looking into. I know it's bad, but it's the honest truth. Sometimes, there's certain facets of life out here that you don't spend much time looking at. I love eating them, you're right, Sebastian. Mushroom is my least favorite thing in the world. Eating fungus just doesn't sound like a good idea. Now, I know a lot of you will probably harp up and on and how nice they are, but honestly, not for me really. I don't like mushrooms at all. It's a constant joke in camp with everybody because I always tell them that mushrooms are like athlete's foot, and you don't eat athlete's foot, so why would you eat a mushroom? But we have a good kind of banter about it, and there's lots of debate goes back and forth about how delicious mushrooms are. Anyway, there is one that's popped out, and this is all just because this is such a fertile place for a fungus to grow. It's like it's compost essentially. So what you've got is you've got this huge amount of plant material. If you look at the sort of base of this, you can see lots and lots of grass and sticks and things that has broken down, and that added to the fact that it's been a very moist kind of summer with lots of moisture in the actual dung itself, makes perfect growing conditions for fungus. And you can actually see there was a number of fungus that were actually on here that have died back already. They've released their spores and are now no longer alive anymore and have served their purpose. But it's really nice to kind of sometimes see the fungus and have a little look at them. They're amazing kind of things. Some of them will pop up within a few hours, and they'll release their spores and die within that day. Others will last a little bit longer. So RSS, you say this elephant dung looks more like a pile of mulch or wood than it does an elephant dung. It's massive if you look at it. I mean, if you think there's both my hands, and this is just one little part of this entire sort of section. So this would have been a big bull, I would imagine, that would have defecated this. And if we open it out a little bit, so let's just try and see when we open it, there should be quite a lot going on here. I don't want to disturb any of the fungus that's there. You can actually see a few fungus that are growing inside here, so we'll put this back on just now, but there's a few that tried to kind of break through and haven't actually managed to do so, which is very, very cool. But there normally is a lot of insect activity when you break them open like this. You can also see how damp it is. This is still very, very wet inside here, and that's from rain. It's not actually still wet from coming out of the elephant, and this is very old dung, but from the rain itself. And you can see how long it holds on to moisture, and that's why fungus can grow very well on elephant dung like this. It's also why you'll often see plants coming out of elephant dung, particularly when they've eaten seeds, so things like marulas. They'll often feed off it, and then, you know, the marulas will kind of pop out through the dung itself. So it's a whole little ecosystem, and I would imagine if we lifted it right at soil level, so we can check maybe on this side. Let's have a look. No, not there, but actually you can see here, Seb, there's a little hole, and you can see the soil particles that have been placed over the top of this. So this will be termites that will have come in, and they'll be feeding off all of this plant material that's here, and they'll actually sort of case this whole sort of dung pile with sand eventually. So this is all kind of been built by the termites over as they start to harvest from the bottom. So if we had to lift this whole pile and turn it over, we'd probably find quite a few termites moving around in underneath, and there'll be some tunnels and chambers that will be in there as well, which is very, very cool. Nice though, nice to kind of see. It's always good to stop and have a little look at piles of poo. It's what we, like I say, it's what we do. We have to continue Ralph's legacy. He loves looking at a pile of poo. So Lisa, it depends on the species. Some are, like I say, within an hour or two they're already out and they've grown. Others take a lot longer, which will be a couple of days, but generally quite fast. So fungus are not like trees in that they take years and years and years to grow. Most fungus grows very, very fast, and within a couple of hours is actually sprouting, and then, you know, by the end of the day is already starting to kind of form its kind of shape. Sorry, just want to show you two different things here quickly. Right, now, when you're walking along at the moment, there is a lot of these guys. So, oh no, that one just fell off, Seb.
I think so.
Oh no, it's fine, we'll grab that one just now. But basically you can see this one here. This is the smaller of the two that we have. So this is a tick that is just sitting on the edge of the grass. There are ticks everywhere at the moment on the grasses. If you walk, and within, I don't know, 10 meters you'll find at least 3 or 4 of these guys. This particular one, as far as we can kind of ID, it looks like one of the brown ticks. So brown dog tick is what it's also referred to. And finding a lot of them kind of sitting around on grasses. They're very, very small. If you use my thumb as a relation to this little guy, tiny, tiny, tiny little tick that will sit there and will kind of just wait and hope that something comes past, and then it will release from the grass and then obviously onto us, and it will pick up on body heat essentially as it comes past, and also disturbance of the grass. So essentially if I put my finger here, it should eventually let go and jump onto me, unless it's, of course, it's not wanting to, which this one doesn't seem like it. It probably feels like it's being attacked rather than actually an animal unsuspectingly coming past. But essentially they sit here, they wait, and as they come along they will then jump on. Now if these guys when they're very, very small and they're still a larva phase, they can sit for as much as 200 days on a piece of grass like this, waiting for a host to come past, which is, when you think about it, it's incredible. So they're not going to feed for that period of time until a host comes past, and they can then get onto it, which for me is absolutely amazing. I think it's incredible that they have the ability to sustain themselves for that duration of time. If we think of mammals, we can't go that long at all. We need to feed very regularly. And so for these guys to be able to do that is absolutely incredible. Now, I want to grab the other one that fell down because of the size difference. Now, here we go. Hold on a sec, let me just grab it. Oh, there we go. Alright, so there's the size difference between the two. Now, this is a rhino tick. Oh, no. Rhino tick? What is going on here? You are all over the place. Now, Chris, you're asking if you can eat these ticks. I wouldn't, just because there's no nutritional value to a tick of this size. You can see there's really not too much of a body on there. It's quite flat, and it's really just kind of legs, and that's it. So it's not a huge sort of hugely valuable nutrient source, so no, people don't eat them. But this tick has got a dream to be on the road, rather. So we're going to just turn it back on its right way, put it on a piece of grass so that it can actually do its job. Come on. Oh no, you don't want to, so you're going to just sit there in the sand. Silly tick. They normally just sit dead still on the piece of grass when you break it, like the small one did, but the big one has other ideas today. It wants to go and move around. Good, we're going to try and avoid ticks as much as possible. They, like I say, are all over the place, and so while we do that, let's send you back across to Lauren, who's still bumbling.
Well, all this talk about mushrooms and nutritional values is making me hungry, actually. I'm going to probably need to tuck into my banana rather soon. I am a huge fan of mushrooms. Raw and cooked and covered in garlic, and any other form of mushroom, battered, whatever, fried. I love them. So we are almost at the hyena den. I really don't feel like my bumbling along this morning has been successful, in terms of there is just been animals on the roads everywhere, from topi to impala fighting to warthogs. Every time we try to get from A to B, there is animals on the road. But I'm not complaining, because we're almost there now, and I just want to check in, see how everything's going, and we probably won't stay there for too long, because there's actually lots of other areas that I want to explore this morning. Charles 6 is asking, have I seen any dung beetles in the Mara? Yes, I have. Not when I've been out on drive. I guess I actually tend probably not to look down when I'm on drive. I'm always looking up to see what we can spot. But yes, I have. We actually went for a little hike the other day. Myself, Pat and Manu went hiking, and we did come across dung beetles, which is fabulous because I love them. Maybe not as much as Sydney loves them, but I do love them, and it was so nice to see them again. So yes, I have seen them, but not since I've been on drive. Now, one thing I have noticed about the Mara is that there's actually a huge plethora of beautiful birds here. But because the landscape is so vast, and because there's just so much to look at the one time, I do actually notice that I need to pay more attention to the birds. Sometimes your eyes just don't know where to look because there's just so much happening at the one time. So I'm going to try and focus on birds a little bit more, because there's just, there's absolutely stunning range of birds out here. But of course, you're always looking on the horizon, you're always looking out in the open plains to see exactly what you can see. You're probably not paying attention too much on the birds. But I will, don't worry. Now, the den is just up here, and what we normally tend to find... Oh, yes, traffic. Fantastic. Just the kind of traffic I am hoping for. Good morning. Now, a lot of animals, including hyenas, they just prefer to walk on the road. I mean, it's easier, like it would be easier for us. The grass is very long now, so it's much easier for an animal to walk on the road than it is, of course, to sort of make its way through the grass. You look very fat. Very cute. Very fat, very cute. I'm just going to make sure it's actually walked past. Can you see it, James? Is it gone? Or is it sniffing under my vehicle as they normally do? I just want to make sure it's fully gone past before I turn on the engine. But of course, we've got a back curtain. Can you have a look for me, James? You see it?
It's out.
No, you're there. I see it. April's saying that hyena had a swag. Yes, indeed, and it's looking very fat. Yes, swagger jagger and very full. So it obviously had some sort of meal last night. It's more than happy. But yes, it did have a swagger. And of course, as I mentioned, they just like to use the roads as well, which is why it's so difficult to get from A to B. And they seem to be marginally obsessed with our vehicle. I don't know what the smell is, whether it is a sort of human smell or whether it's just the fact that, you know, we drive on all the roads, that it just might pick up scents along the way. But all the hyenas just love to come to our car, which is why I'm always so cautious about turning on the engine until I can see that the actual animal is moved out of the way. Now, the den is right in front of us. Good morning, Mr. Topi. You're very close to that den, yes. And very often there is hyenas just sprawled out everywhere, which is why I'm going to drive extra slow. Because I can see one over there. You know, it sounds really crazy, but I get really excited when I approach the den. I don't know why. It's always such a area, I can see them, of a lot happening, a lot of activity, a lot to learn, a lot of fun, that I just get really, really excited. There we go. Hello, everybody. James, is this okay for you? I assume it is. Kevin's asking, did I learn anything interesting from my lunch with the hyena researchers? Yes, it was obviously a lovely social gathering for the two of us to get to meet one another. And we had a delicious lunch prepared by our chef. And of course, our main topic was indeed hyenas, in case anyone thought it would be any different. And yes, I learned a lot. My main sort of... Oh, I've got an ostrich ahead. My main sort of area that I really want to dig into is really what exactly has happened with the whole Soup Waffles takeover. Why it happened, how it happened, you know, what does that mean for hyenas? The North Clan is very unique in that aspect. So we really, really went into some great detail about the takeover that happened and why it happened, and of course, Waffles' future. Now, Waffles is not around this morning. She was the other day though, so I have no worry or concern about that. But right now, she is obviously not here. We have arrived a little bit later than we normally do though. The sun is a lot higher. And yes, it appears Waffles, although not the matriarch, is still very, very high up in this sort of hierarchy, if you like. I'm just going to have a look at what this little hyena is eating. So yes, Waffles is still very... No, it's plastic. No. Hyena, put that down. Oh... I was thinking that's either going to be a leaf or plastic, and it's plastic. Oh, it's a piece of blue plastic. Oh, this is very upsetting. And unfortunately, I have no idea where this plastic has came from, but this just shows you. Oh, it's very sad. So while we look at these wonderful hyenas, and I try and figure out a way if we can get this plastic removed, let's send you down to Rusty, who has some tracks.
Well, we were having a discussion about tracking earlier and how much it tells a story of what's around. Here we have a lion track just heading down to the side of the road here. They seem to have come through here early last night. There's quite a few tracks, but this one obviously went off to the side and went parallel to the road. It actually looks like one of the females. You can make out the back of the pad here. It's actually a brilliant light with the sun just behind it. Being able to almost highlight the track. There's 4 toes and the back pad. It was walking quite slowly here. You can actually make that out just by the spreading of the pad. It's not a full grown, looks like a young lioness. heading up here. We're not too sure which pride it is, but we are not too sure. There was an update of a pride being seen this morning, but I'm still trying to find out where that is. But tracks tell you a very big story about what they're doing, where they're going, are they hunting, how fast they're running, the age, the sex, everything. And if you can interpret that, it can actually get you through a lot of hassle of trying to figure out what's happening in the bush. Now, there's a lot of there's actually a hyena track going this way, so I'm guessing the hyena is actually following the line to see if it can pick up pieces, if the lions make a kill. We've got elephant tracks, hippo tracks. There's actually a variety, and might as well add my track to it. Yeah, but there's been some other activity around. Jamie, who is on drive as well, with a trainee, has found some more wild dogs. Now, this is a different pack. I'm not too sure which one. So we're going to head in that direction and see if we can pick it up. Apparently, these ones are still for now. So that's hopefully more chance of us seeing them. Okay, so we're going to head there and see if we can pick them up. Okay, we're going to head back to Lauren in the Mara.
Oh, you just caught us repositioning. Bear with us. The sun is right in our eyes, so we want to get a better view for you all. So, how is this? James is saying this is much better. Now, I'm really sorry about that plastic. That's actually upset myself as well as I'm sure it's upset you all. Hello. I love how they come bounding forward to greet you. It's almost very dog-like. Yeah, that's very sad. It looked, from what I could see, like a blue plastic bag. So there's not anything we can do while the den is filled with hyenas. I will let the hyena researchers know, but I mean, I honestly cannot think of a solution off the top of my head. It's a very small bit plastic. It didn't look like the hyena swallowed it, but it was chewing on it. I don't have a pair of tongs, you know, those sort of really, really large tongs that the garbage men use. If we had them, what we could do is actually wait it out and try and pick them up, but unfortunately we don't. So let me think of a solution. I'm working on it. That was rather upsetting for me too. If the hyenas were all to disappear right now, then of course we could grab it, but unfortunately we can. Sandstar is asking, can animals not tell the plastic is inedible? That's a good but very tricky question. Obviously, I have worked in the ocean for plus 8 years, especially in Maldives, and the number of incidents and rescues we had to do because animals have swallowed plastic is just, I can't even begin to tell you. And the number one culprits were, of course, turtles. They swallow a phenomenal amount of plastic, especially plastic bags, because the way plastics look in the ocean, plastic bags in particular, they actually look very similar to jellyfish, believe it or not. And although you and I can tell the difference between jellyfish and plastic bag, actually a turtle can't. So very often we rescue turtles with plastic bags hanging out its mouth, straws coming out their nose. I'm sure many of you have seen this video that's circulating on that World Wide Web. Yes, so many incidents with animals that have swallowed plastic. Fish, I've watched fish swallow cigarette butts, which is again an incredibly sad thing to see. It's very, very, very disturbing. And on land, I guess it's the same. I mean, even my dog will chew and gnaw on plastic, especially if it carries a scent. So maybe if this, I mean, I really have no idea what it actually is that the hyenas were chewing on. But say it was a bag that was maybe potentially wrapped around food, then of course it's going to be really, really attractive to the animals. They're going to really want to investigate it. Now, some animals might just chew on it to chew. There's a lot of animals that just enjoy. I mean, if you think of dogs or cats that just love to just chew things. But again, they might accidentally swallow. There's a lot of studies going into microplastics. Now, plastic, as we know it, actually can break down. It never completely disappears. And it can form little tiny bits of microplastic. And if you actually take, let's just say the ocean, and take a sample from all the animals on a coral reef, it's said that all of them, 99.9%, will actually have microplastic in their body. Especially the fish that we eat. When you actually take a fish and you open it up, you can see that it is full of plastic. That's very sad. So I haven't seen similar studies done with land animals. So I am more than sure that in areas where human garbage and human sort of waste is high, animals that live around that area, then yeah, you will find plastic within the animal, whether they swallow it on purpose, whether they swallow it by accident. So going back to the question, I'm not really sure if an animal can differentiate that it's not really inedible. And I guess if it is something like a plastic bag, then of course an animal could probably chew it and swallow it. So then it doesn't really seem necessarily inedible, if you like. So it's very, very sad. And I know there's a lot of work going into plastics and microplastics right now, particularly in the ocean. But I definitely think it's something that they need to focus on in land as well. And one of the rules of the Mara is no littering. Absolutely no littering. So who knows how this piece of plastic got here, and it might of course just blown across by wind. It could just be from the villages. It's just been swept into the area by the wind. So I'm sorry, that was sad. I didn't actually expect to see that at the den this morning, but it was that little cup, the very dark one, which is either honey buns or ding dong. I don't know which one is which at the minute. And yeah, that was the one that was sort of oh, now it's got some grass. Can you see that? Yes, look at that. Now it's chewing on a big piece of the tree, I think. Well, at least it's not the plastic. Oh, I feel relatively sad. So from our side, if we can remove it, we will. But of course, as long as the animals are present at the den, there's absolutely no way we can get out the vehicle and go and pick up that piece of plastic, which is unfortunately very, very sad. So I think before I spotted the little one eating the plastic, I was trying to wrap up about waffles. And then I started waffling, of course. So I'll just go back to that question and just wrap it up. So, sorry. Faith is talking to me and it just threw me off there. So yes, waffles is still very high up. So although Soup is the matriarch and her two offspring, her two offspring, Lobby and Chow, are very, very much at the top of the hierarchy at the minute. But then Waffles does not come too far under that. And that was what I discovered with the lunch. So Waffles is still very, very high up there in the hyena den hierarchy. And indeed, she will still be respected around the den and she will still be very, very welcome. And there may even be some hyenas that still act a little bit submissively to her. But she is indeed not the matriarch anymore. That was what I was trying to say. I think it was Kevin that possibly asked that question before I spotted that piece of blue plastic that was hanging out of the hyena's mouth there. So a lot of you have expressed concern for Waffles. They say she's not looking too well. And obviously we spotted her regurgitating the other day. Now, again, I could only speculate. I think she's not acting dominant anymore, but she's definitely not looking ill. We did see her the other morning looking incredibly fat with this humongous belly that was just hanging out of her and actually touching the ground. And she was looking very, very well. Now, as for the regurgitating, some people have suggested parasites, worms. I really couldn't answer that question, but it's obviously something that irritated her stomach and she obviously just needed to get it out. It doesn't necessarily mean that she is entirely sick. Look at all these cups running round and round and round and round. It just means that maybe there just wasn't something sitting entirely right in her stomach. So I wouldn't worry too much about Waffles just yet. Of course, she is much older. But I think from my point of view, she's looking perfectly fine. Anka's asking, will the plastic be reported to the authorities? I guess we could. It's a very, very small piece of plastic from what I could see. I'm going to try and investigate it a little bit closer later. The cubs will go back inside the den at some point, and Mother here, who I imagine to be Remy or Krim, but I'm not getting a good enough view at the spot pattern, will disappear at some point. So if that happens, then there will be a possibility to sort of drive a little bit closer and maybe grab it. But yes, I will report it to someone, being the hyena researchers or the authorities. Now, I am going to sneeze. Bless me. I don't know where that came from. Sorry about that. So yes, and in answer to that question, I will report it to someone and we'll try and see if we can get it removed. Unfortunately, that wasn't what I was expecting to see when we came here. But never mind, we will try and do our best to get it away from the den. Because these little cubs are, of course, just so naughty. They're like young children, young dogs. They like to just chew on anything. So their jaws are not quite ready to spring into action yet, but they have got teeth. They're not teething because they're born with teeth, and they do just love to chew on everything. So we're going to stay here for a little bit longer so that I can actually figure out what is going on around me. But for now, we're going to send you down to the bushwalk with Tristan.
We are on bushwalk here at the moment, and we are right where little Kalamba was yesterday, but there's no sign of a carcass in the tree and no sign of her in the tree. So we're just looking quickly to see if her tracks are moving up and down on the road at the moment. So Herbie and I are quite close together, just because we don't want to spread out too much in case we do spot her. We don't want her to feel like there's 20 million people all around her. So just try and stay close as much as possible. Now the tree that she was in is directly off to my left hand side now, and I don't see any sign of the duiker carcass that was in that area. There was a duiker carcass that was kind of hanging, and there was the head and the neck and a leg. But it looks like she might have finished it, which we thought might be the case. But let's just double check. There's no track so far coming out off the road. So it's very possible that she's just lying somewhere. She might have gone to those mud wallows where we saw her drink last night. So we're just kind of scratching a little bit just to check if she's still around. My gut feel tells me that she's probably finished already and is moved. So Herbie's pointing out a track for her already, and that she's moving away from this area and around. So you can see, here we go, there's her little footprint on top of all the vehicle tracks from last night. So this is where we came out last night and drove, and you can see this is obviously the back of her pad on the edge here, and then her toes, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it seems as though she might have left this carcass now and has started to move around. The track that goes that way, I don't know if this, I mean, it could also be Tundi, but it looks too small for Tundi. It looks like it's probably Kalamba's track. Maybe Tundi, actually. It's possible. Well, let's just have a look, because it's going the other way, and we didn't find anything going further down the road. It kind of goes to where the track goes in towards the tree itself. It doesn't seem like she moves away. So let's go back and let's go and check towards that tree and just see if maybe we can find anything. I wonder if this wasn't Tundi coming in and just kind of turning, because you can see the 2-track where the vehicles were accessing is from here. Now this leopard track turns here and goes up onto this 2-track and moves towards where the tree was with the kill. Might explain why there's no longer a kill in the tree. So we're just going to go very, very slowly and quietly. The nice thing about this was that from the road you could see from a very long way away, and so if she was here with the kill in the tree, we wouldn't have approached her close at all. We would have tried to stay quite far and view her from there, but the fact that there's no kill in the tree probably indicates that she might have moved off now. And if Mom arrived, or even if she finished it, I think the next place that they would go would in all likelihood be for water. So we'll go and scratch around. It's going to be a game like yesterday in many respects. Problem is also it's very thick here, so you've got to kind of keep your eyes open as you go. Now, a lot of you are wondering if I'm scared. No, not scared at all. It's obviously the one thing that you feel is you never want to really disturb these animals too much if they've got a kill, but at some point you've got to try and find out whether or not the kill is finished and whether they're still here. So you kind of got to come in and have a little bit of a look, but no, not scared. It's a little Kalamba. She's quite relaxed on foot these days, which is quite nice. So most of the time she'll just kind of see you and she'll start to creep off and move, or she'll just stay lying down. So everything is okay, but there's definitely no sign of a kill in this tree anymore. It was hanging on the left branch. You can actually see what looks like claw marks on the branch itself. You see that, Seb? Is it claw? Yes, it is claw marks that are on the branch from where she was probably gripping to try and feed off it. There's also hyena tracks that have come from this area, so maybe she dropped it and the hyenas got hold of it and then she would have left from there. But Herbie's busy just having a little scratch around. But let's go and have a little look there, so we can maybe get some nice close-ups of the claw marks on the tree from where she climbed. So you'll see here, there's quite a few little scratches where her little claws have gone in, so she would have had claws in like this, and she's kind of come down. This, I would imagine, was when she was actually going down rather than coming up, and I'll tell you why. Is her claw here, you can see they've slipped. So this is a hard part of the tree, it's not the bark. The bark provides a lot more grip. This is quite smooth. So her claw has gotten in there and then slipped forward, and you can actually see the way that the sap, which is over the top of the tree, has broken, that it's been pushed forward this way. So there the sap is, you see it's leaning that side, so it came down and she slid, and then from here she would have jumped. Now what you can also notice is there's hairs for her and the duiker that are also on the tree itself. So these little hairs would have been from when she probably went up with the carcass. Most of these would have been duiker hairs, mostly rather than her hair. I'm trying to see if I can find one with some sort of black on it, because sometimes you can actually see where the little rosette is on the sort of fur as well, when they, especially if it's on an edge, and so that's where she's kind of moved up and down. So Carol, no, her territory is not expanding, and remember, she's not territorial yet. She's still kind of figuring out her life as to whether or not she's going to be a leopard, or where she's going to end up settling. She's still moving within Tundi's territory. She's just utilizing different areas within Tundi's territory. So initially she was, a few weeks ago, she was working around the sort of northwestern part of Tundi's territory. She's now come down to the southwestern area and has spent a few weeks here. So I think she's just moving around, and eventually it will actually be Tundi that will dictate where she kind of settles down. But definitely no sign of a carcass, and if there was a carcass in this tree, we would have found that she would have probably been kind of watching us a little bit more. Now the other thing that you can see from the carcass and where she was feeding, and I was saying the carcass was right above us, and you can actually see where she's plucked the duiker and the fur has then landed. So this would have been where she would have pulled it out and then spat it out, and then this fur has kind of landed right below where she was. So it gives you an idea that the carcass was probably in all likelihood finished now. Good, we're going to carry on. We're going to go see the water points just close by, see if she's maybe lying there. In the meantime, let's send you back across to Rusty.
Guess what? We had a bit of a luck. We were discussing about, okay, maybe there might be more wild dogs in the area. The other ones we tried to follow up on this morning, we lost them. But guess what? Jamie actually gave us a helping hand this morning and found another pack on Djuma, out of all places. And they are lying right in front of us. I'm just going to slow down to a crawl. So, yes. We couldn't have planned it better. It's actually right on our access road going into camp, so we're very lucky to have this. And we were a bit of a rush. We did have a bit of a slow point where we came up to a hyena on the road that decided to dominate the road. So we were like, fine, we have all day. But she wandered off. We kept on going. They bumped into dwarf mongooses. But it's like there's so much to see, so much to do, but so little time. But yes, these dogs are a lot more relaxed than the other ones that we tried to follow this morning. This is a different pack, or it might even be the breakaway pack. I'm not too sure. Mark, are wild dogs a mixture of different breeds? Absolutely not. They are a breed all of their own. They are part of the canine family, so they are part of the dog family. But no, they're not a mix of any other dogs. They're just a breed of all on their own. But yeah, there's a couple of different names for you. I mean, I know some people call them by the African painted dog, the painted dog. I'll always keep them as wild dogs. That's what I've grown up with them as being. So to me, they are always going to be the African wild dog. They've always been called that. Even my grandmother will keep calling me that. It's like, why do they change their names? It's just how they are. But to me, they are always going to be the wild dogs. Maybe in about 20 years' time, I might decide to change the name. But for now, what is he playing with? A piece of bark. The road has just been recently graded, so there's a lot of roots and stuff pulled up. They are lying flat out in the sun, and it's warming up very quickly, so they might move off. They don't have full bellies, so they will be quite hungry very soon. So they will be on the move to hunt. We did pass impala further up the road. I don't think they're going to wander down here. If not, they'll be in for a nasty surprise. They're not all relaxed. As you can see, this one's moving around quite a bit. David, do they feel safer lying on the road? They don't actually. They're quite habituated to a lot of the vehicles around here because they move through a lot of the reserves around Kruger in this area. So there's a lot of vehicles driving around. They don't mind as long as we give them some space and respect their space, and obviously keeping a fair distance away from them. They don't mind us. Obviously, if I push them now, they might get a bit upset and move off. But this is one of the main roads going in and out of the area, so there might be other vehicles that are needed to get through to get to the camps. But this is one of these times where you just have to sit back and have that amazing ability to have patience, which a lot of people don't seem to have nowadays. It's all rush, rush, rush. But these guys are definitely showing you the game of patience, and I have got all morning, so I'm going to stay with them. Look at that. Mushy, would different packs fight if they met up, if they mixed up? They are very territorial, and they do have massive territories. But some of the territories do overlap. So when two territorial packs meet up, there is a bit of a confrontation. I've never seen the confrontation between two packs because the areas are so massive, and when they do, it's just you have to be in the right place, right time. But they do have some very interesting noises and sounds when they do interact with one another when they meet up with another group. So yes, a full-on confrontation when it comes to fighting, I'm not too sure about that. I have not seen it, but doesn't mean it does not happen. I'm sure if it's with like any other animals, if there is two very strong packs and they are very dominant over those areas, then they might have a fight. But otherwise, as far as I know, they keep a distance from each other. Well, they seem to be very relaxed here, but at any moment, I've seen these guys go from exactly as they are now, flat dogs, to up and running within seconds. So I will stay with them as long as I can. We are on our property, so we will, if they do go off and on a hunt, we'll try follow them as much as we can. Okay, I'm going to link you back to Lauren in the Mara.
So the activities kind of dispersed a little. Everything got up and kind of moved a little bit further away from the den into the grass. But the adult hyena we can see here is indeed who I believe to be Krim, one of the mothers. Now I'm kind of hoping just going to move a little bit closer just so I can get a look at that spot pattern on the side. And if it is indeed Krim, who I suspect it to be, she is one of the mothers of the brand new cubs, Matilda and Charlie, who are not out. Haven't seen the brand new cubs. Are obviously still inside of the den. Can you hear that? Lots of squittering. I'm just gonna listen for a little while. seems to have died down, but that noise that you heard was indeed squittering. The very gorgeous noise the hyena cubs make. But I can't hear it anymore, I can only hear the birds. But it's an adorable sound. Harshal's asking what is the hyena cub's survival rate. Now, it would depend if you were referring to the birthing success rate or just in general from a cub to an adult. But when hyenas are indeed giving birth, as many of you know, it's a very, very difficult birth. It is very quite traumatic area. I'm just having a look, keeping my eye on these hyenas in front of me. It's quite traumatic for the mother. She does have a 90-degree angle bend in her sort of birthing canal from her womb. I wish I knew what that meant. Unfortunately, I don't. Yes, sorry, apologies for that. I got obviously a little bit distracted by that noise. So yes, it's a very traumatic experience for the mother. It's not easy, and of course the birth canal joins onto the pseudopenis, and it's said to be sort of only an inch in diameter, so the cubs have got to pass through that, and unfortunately a lot of the time the cubs can suffocate on their way out. So in terms of the birthing success rate, it's about 60% of the cubs are actually said to suffocate. Now that is incredibly high. Now, normally a hyena does give birth to twin litters, so 2 cubs at the one time, and a 60% success rate is, of course, a very 60% suffocation rate is very, very high. That means only a 40% success rate in terms of birthing. So all these little cubs that you can see around the den. Ah, where have you all gone? I think we might need to do some repositioning here. Then yes, so that is the. Oh no, we've got some springing out to see us. I think I am just going to reposition a little bit though, just so we can see the entrance of the den and see what's actually going on here. So I hope that answers your question. Now, in terms of cub to adulthood, the success rate is much, much, much higher. The cubs do fare well if they're in a clan. And of course, they're being fed on fantastically rich milk. They obviously have the protection of the elders around the den site. They're very safe here for the first sort of 18 months. And then, of course, they will venture out on their own, but they are very successful as a species. The sort of worrying stage of their life is when they are actually coming out of the mother. And that's when their success rate is the lowest. So, amazing question. And indeed, this does seem to be Krim, a mother who has got 2 cubs in there that we haven't seen this morning, and she's always here, and she does tend to go to the den entrance to call her cubs out in order to get them to suckle. So I haven't seen her calling yet, and I haven't seen her cubs yet, but they are 2 of the blackest cubs because they're very, very young. Not this one here. These ones are slightly older. I haven't seen her cubs yet. They're very small and very black. So Krim is short for smooth criminal. And I have seen some questions many of you are asking about the ID kit. Yes. Now, of course, it is important that we all start to get to know the North Clan as well, because many of you know the Juma clan really well. So let me see what I can do. I also have my own little ID kit, and Jamie has created a wonderful ID kit. So let's see what we can do about sharing the IDs with you a little bit more, so that you guys can also get to know the North Clan as much as I'm getting to know them here right now. Now, there is many other members of the North Clan, but at the moment, obviously, it's worth just focusing on the mothers and the hyenas that are sort of focused around the den at the minute. So let me see what I can do on that. But it is noted. So for now, while these cubs are just Being cubs, we are going to send you back down to South Africa with Tristan.
Well, while your cubs are there, Lauren, ours has disappeared with Mom. The two of them have moved. Now, what you can see basically, essentially, is in this area, there's a lot of movement of leopard up and down, and there's a lot of scuffle marks that have taken place. So we've got two tracks. We've got the one track over here, which essentially is the foot. This is one of the hind feet, so here's the back of the pad and the toes, and then here's another one with the toes facing the opposite way. And so what's happened is, and it answers a lot of our questions that we've been asking about Thandi and Tlalamba, the two of them seem to have had a really nice game here where they must have been playing with one another, because you can see this track, the back of the pad here is quite obscured. It's kind of pushed out, and that means that the two of them, while they were resting, they were also coming back and forth and rubbing up on one another and playing, and so they still do spend time together. This means that the two of them are interacting, they're not chasing one another away, and they're walking together. From these tracks here where they've been playing around and they go up and down and kind of mess about, they then from there walked kind of northwards. Now the thing is about these tracks is they're not the freshest tracks. I mean, they're good, but they're not fresh. And the reason why we know that is if you have a look here, this little track at the back over here gives us a good indication. Now, this is a track obviously for Thandi, what we would expect to be Thandi given the size of it. But you see there's a little genet track over the top of the leopard's track, and so that tells you that there was a genet walking around after they were here. Now, genets are nocturnal. They wouldn't have been walking around this morning, and so this means that this was made during the course of the night, probably quite early evening for this genet to walk on top. There's also various other tracks that indicate that they moved around. Now, that's kind of half of it. And then the other thing that you can see here, which is always quite nice and something we don't really get to see quite often in a track with a leopard where they lie down, is you can actually see the individual hairs of where they kind of push their body out a little bit and kind of lay down on top, and then from there they moved around. There's also, you can see an antelope that's walked over the top of this too, so that gives you an indication that this was last night and not this morning. But we will follow the tracks now. Maybe Thandi's leading Tlalamba to another kill, so we're going to just kind of see where they go. I would be surprised if there wasn't another kill and they were walking together. So we're going to try and track these down and see if we can find the two of them. In the meantime, though, back to Rusty and the wild dogs.
Well, it's been an interesting last few minutes. As soon as we went off, we were linked over, there was a impala came bounding past, so all the dogs got up and scattered, and there was a brief chase, and then nothing happened, so they came back and lay down. And then as they came to lay back down, a hyena popped its head up just to the left of them, but it's gone back into the shade and to lie down. He's obviously following the wild dogs around, hoping for pickings, easy pickings. But with this many wild dogs, it's it could actually be a mobbing behavior. If the wild dogs kill something and the hyena wants to pick up something, it might be a big problem. But when the hyena kills something, the wild dogs will probably just ignore it or try even steal it from it, but especially if they work in numbers. But this hyena just doesn't seem to mind. He's probably about 5 meters to the back there, just lying in the shade. We've lost sight of him, or her, I'm not too sure which one it is. But yeah, he's around. So yeah, they've all come to lie back down. A few more have gone off to the right. Jennifer, do wild dogs bark like other dogs? Wild dogs have got a mixture of sounds. They express themselves in many different ways, especially when it comes to their vocals. They do make the most amazing sounds when they are feeding or where they are in a mobbing behavior. They don't bark as in like a dog bark, but they've got very many other vocals. I am not going to mimic any of them because it's very difficult, but they've got a variety of different sounds. They've got squeals and yelps and a form of a bark, but it's not like a dog bark. They don't howl like you hear wolves do, but they've got a variety of different sounds. If we do stay with them long enough, and if they do go on a hunt, you might hear them if they do take down an animal. They almost get excited as well as hyenas do when they take down an animal. It seems to be like the noise. They cannot control their excitement when they hunt or when they are mobbing something. It seems to, like, the sound makes him sound bigger. Can you just zoom in on the feet? How's this?
Is there something in particular you want to talk about?
Martha, I think it was her name. What do wild dogs or horses do when they approach wild dogs, or vice versa? The few times this happened, the wild dogs weren't actually taking an interest in us. They were actually on a hunt for wildebeest, and once they realized realized how close they were to us, they seemed to, like, get a big fright and, like, run away and then watch us at a distance. But up in Botswana, when I was riding there and saw the wild dogs, they were very interested in us and became quite, like, hair-raising, like, okay, they're not going to do much, but we don't want them to get that friendly. But they came within meters, and the horses were absolutely fine. They've obviously done this many times. But that's when we actually heard the noises quite a lot, like they were running around, it's getting really exciting, getting wound up, and then realized, oh, we're actually not going to run or create a chase. So they end up ignoring us and then trotted off. It was an amazing sighting, but they didn't get anything out of us, so they just left. So I think they rely on someone to be wound up, and they need that chase. They need something to run so they can chase it and then trigger that hunting mode. But otherwise, they just seem to have a mutual respect for anything bigger than, like they say, standard size young kudu or impala, which they normally go after. So anything bigger than that, they seem to have a respect for at a distance. They know the size of game they can take down. Puma and Joy, how many dogs can I count here? I haven't actually done that yet. But right now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm sure there was about 9 when I arrived. But I can only see 6. The others just walked off to the side when the impala ran off. Or they ran off to the side and then came back and lay down in the shade. So we'll see, hopefully in the next couple of minutes, if there's any movement, if they come back and joining. But they are on high alert and they are listening out to anything that moves. Some are more awake than others, but it only takes one to see something and then everyone's up and going. So it's almost like they have power naps. So as soon as they get a chance to rest, they will sleep, take a power nap. There's obviously 1 or 2 that obviously sleep better than others, and they'll keep alert out for everything. I think that one's still got a very nice shaded spot. But like I said before, it's just an opportunity we take to see them. Because they pass through this area so infrequently, and if they do pass through, they're gone within minutes. They just have to cross the road into another property where we cannot transverse, and they're gone, and they cover massive distances. So when they are here, we take an opportunity to get them. See, there's always one restless enough to move around, but I think it's actually getting too hot. He's actually watching one of the hyena that's further off. I don't blame them. Hyenas are opportunists, and I suppose these wild dogs need to look over their shoulder every couple of minutes. Okay. Well, talking about our hyenas, we are going to link you over back to Lauren in the Mara.
So everything has quietened down here, and Mama keeps drifting in and out of little sleeps. Keeps having a look, and then each time a cub goes past, waking up and then sort of drifting off with their head nodding to sleep, which is really, really adorable. Now obviously these cubs have got it all mapped out. Whoever their mother is will... Oh, I think she's going to summon the cubs. Oh no, she's not. She's off. Whoever their mother is and whatever sort of status and rank mother has will determine the cub's future, which is indeed extremely interesting, and I guess it goes down to social inequality. It's not an equal society, there's a hierarchy. And it's quite fascinating to think exactly why that would exist in the animal kingdom and why it exists in spotted hyenas, for example. So, I mean, if you're the matriarch or the matriarch's daughter, you know, that 1% is obviously going to really benefit. You're going to have first dibs on food. You're going to get lots of respect. You probably can get whatever you want. And it's such a tiny, tiny percent of the whole clan. So it makes you think exactly what incentive low status individuals would have to challenge that. Now, when referring to the recent takeover with Soup and Waffles, Soup is Waffles' granddaughter. So indeed, she's not low ranking, but I do. Hello, we have another one. It'll be interesting to see this interaction. Oh no, don't go behind the bush. There might be some greeting happening here. So when Waffles first took over, there was actually another takeover back in the day. And I didn't realise she was low ranking. I will admit that. I might have got it wrong the other day. But apparently she really wasn't high ranking at all. And what she did was formed a coalition. So she got an army of others that obviously are low ranking, and together they sort of performed a coup, if you like, and did a takeover, a matriarchal takeover. And this is exactly what has happened now with Soup and Waffles, but it's a different situation because obviously Soup is not that low ranking. So I hope this does all make sense to you. And obviously the incentives for a low ranking hyena to take over would indeed be better position in life, better active to resources. So you've got to question exactly why hyenas would do this. So we might move on very shortly. There's a lot of strange greetings going on here, but for now we will send you down to Rusty and his dogs.
Sorry, I got into an awkward position here, but they are slowly mobile. There's one just in front of us. Sorry, my head's in the way. They seem to be a bit mobile at the moment. They're getting up and moving slowly. Obviously, this can trigger a hunt at any moment, so it's like a get up and go. Like start the engines and follow them. But I don't want to disturb them too much. They're just ambling around. I think they're just relying on somebody to head off in a direction to follow. I know when they don't really always have a set plan or set route, and they just end up moving around and just following where their game goes. Miles, how big are the animals that wild dogs normally kill? The average size of most of the animals they do kill is about an impala height. Impala is like a medium-sized antelope. Then I've seen them go after young kudu, which is actually quite a large antelope. Then it varies from there all the way down. It goes wild dogs, hares. There's a variety of game that they go after, but I'll say the largest one I've seen is actually a full-grown female waterbuck. I see them take down, but that was a pack of about 35, and they all helped it. It was a very quick hunt, and they are ferocious animals when it comes to hunting. It is an amazing natural hunt to watch if you ever get to witness it. It does seem ruthless, but it's just their way of life. They actually spread out around us. Yeah, I think each one of them is waiting for another one to move, to who to follow. But we have an amazing clear day. And I'm just hoping they're going to stay in the area for the next few days so we get to witness their day-to-day activities. It's just, there's so much research being done on them throughout Africa, and they have lost so much territory over the years due to human development. So the last areas that are protected, like the Greater Kruger, they have free reign over this area. And it's still amazing to see them. You can go weeks without seeing them, and all of a sudden you get to see them every day. There's actually a puddle where they are now. David, do they rely more on sense of smell or sight while hunting? I believe it's more sight. They go by sight and their hearing. Because they're not so much scavengers as much as hyenas are, where they need their smell. They need to rely on their eyesight, their speed, and their hearing to locate animals. So the eyesight is pretty much, I think, the strongest sense they have. And then that's followed by the hearing and then the sense of smell. As with all dogs, all canines and cats, all their sense of smell is unique. It's brilliant, but their hearing and sight is what they rely on mostly to hunt. I'm always amazed at like the color patterns on these ones. Apparently it's very easy to ID them once you see their markings and get to make pictures out of their markings. That one's got a bit of a gouge on the side here, but it doesn't look that bad at all. But I've seen wild dogs that are like almost completely black with just maybe a spot somewhere, then some that are like pale brown or tan. But they're all vary in color, but these ones are very mottled. There's actually one to the right here that's got a very obvious white marking on the leg. And that's a very, very classic case of IDing that one. It's almost just like it's got rosettes on it, like leopard markings. But they are absolutely beautiful, beautiful animals. And I can see why everyone makes so much fuss about them. Brian, they do look like they're getting ready to hunt, but like I said, they can lie down for about a few hours and then all of a sudden they get up and go. They can lie down for 10 minutes and get up and go. Wild dogs are very hard to keep up with. They're almost like the latest trends in the world. It's like as soon as something comes out, by the end of the afternoon, new things come out. Wild dogs, you can't really plan the day with them. It's like, yes, they're lying down now, but 20 minutes, even doesn't matter how hot it is, they're moving again. Something may disturb them, or the hunt may be on. They probably have not fed in a few days, but they'll just keep moving around. Right now, they just seem to be moving around this one spot, which is fine for us. It's great for us because it's not that great when you have to like chase through them or try following them up through the bush when they're on the hunt. Heather, did I get that name right? Do wild dogs move into is it people's territory? Sorry, you might have to repeat that. Sorry, I completely lost that question. Are we getting a stare down? Do wild dogs venture into human habitat, into humans' homes? Because they have a wide area to cover, their territories are massive. It does overlap into human habitats, especially villages, and they have been known to take down sheep, goats, pigs, anything, even turkeys. I've had reports of wild dogs taking down turkeys, feral turkeys in a village. So yes, they do overlap, and that's where they've actually have lost a lot of ground with the conflict with humans. Especially where in Zimbabwe, there was a huge problem years ago when my gran was still a child. She grew up on a farm there, and they had big problems with wild dogs moving through their area and hassling them with the cattle and with the sheep. And they'll actually end up getting culled because there are so many of them. But that was a big problem years ago, and it actually dwindled their numbers down to when they became endangered and protected. But it all comes down to land now. There's actually not enough land to hold all of them. So these protected areas are the last strongholds for wild dog. And because they move around so much, they cross the borders. The borders doesn't stop them. The fences don't stop them. I've seen them go straight through areas where there is supposed to be a stronghold fence. But they dig a hole, they find where warthogs dug through or hyenas dug through, and they go. And they move on to the next properties. And I love them to have free range, but they do become a big problem with human conflict, especially with livestock. There's not much we can do about it, and we can get a report 2 days later. And by the time like the research team or the wildlife rehabilitation guys get a call saying, please come dart them or relocate them, they've already moved off to a different area. So it's very difficult to keep tracks of them. There are areas where you get collars put on wild dogs to track them up and follow their movements and get more research done into how much territory they need, how many they can have in a pack, and what they eat and how much they eat. But these guys, as far as I'm aware, they seem to stay in this area or the larger area and stay within the protected grounds. But not all of them are so lucky. There's even cases of wild dogs moving obviously into human habitats where there's main roads. And then you get that sad moment where you find a wild dog that's been hit by a car. It happens, but that is our journey of, with human population growing as much as it is and the wildlife taking a step back. So this is what we're bringing to you. It's like bringing the wild dogs. This is us being able to share this with you in their natural habitat and just helping them to be protected. We're going to move a bit closer to them shortly. They're all parked off in the shade here. And we're going to head over to Lauren back in the Mara.
We have ostrich. I saw them in the background while we were actually looking at the hyenas, and it's always a difficult decision to make to leave the den, but it did get a little bit quiet. The cubs sort of quietened down a little bit, so I made the decision independently to sort of bumble along, and of course we managed to catch up with these guys, which is fabulous. Every time I see ostrich, it's always an amazing feeling. It's just such a bizarre sighting for me, such a wonderful sighting for me. And although generally when you tend to see these animals, I personally haven't seen them do much else other than feeding, to be perfectly honest. But these animals really, really can defend themselves. I mean, they're actually even capable of killing a human or a lion just from a kick. I mean, look at those legs. They're not only just long, they're just incredibly powerful. So if a lion was to go for an ostrich, and I have seen footage of it, it has happened, there's obviously a lot of meat on that body, the kick of an ostrich is just so powerful. It of course could indeed just completely kill a lion or indeed a human. So if any predator was to go for these animals, indeed they would have to play the game very, very carefully in order to avoid injury, because the injury could be so severe from these birds. And I can feel the strength, you can just feel the strength of an ostrich when you're sort of in its presence. So although I haven't seen any or witnessed any major activity from them other than feeding myself, they are indeed formidable in their own way. And I certainly would not like to be kicked by an ostrich, that's for sure. Oh, I got half a question there. I believe the question was, what's the strangest bird I've ever seen in the Mara? I got half of it. Not sure where the rest of the question went. I think it was from Martha. Strangest birds. I think Faith is talking to me again and I'm having this wonderful communication breakup, but I think that's the question anyway. I'm going to answer it anyhow. Oh, strangest bird. In terms of strange, I probably would indeed have to go for what we're looking at right now. I know that seems such a cop-out to your question. It seems like it doesn't require much thought, but indeed they are just the world's largest bird and obviously flightless, and it's just they're so bizarre looking. And obviously when they are feeding, they sort of put their head down on that incredibly flexible neck, and from a distance, and I'm talking a real distance when you're scanning and you just see that body, at first it takes you a while to work out it's actually an ostrich until you're able to see the little head pop up. They are just extremely bizarre, and Yeah, I'm sorry that answer wasn't more exciting, but I think I would have to go indeed with the ostrich. And they are unique in their own way. Ostriches are, of course, able to secrete urine separately from feces, which might sound a bit strange, but normally when you're referring to other birds, they just secrete both these things together in one sort of substance. And of course, many birds do secrete it down their legs in an attempt to cool down. But ostriches secrete these two things separately, which sort of separates them from all other birds. So I really hope that answered your question. And I'm sure many would agree with me. They are just the strangest and weirdly wonderful, unique looking things. I just love seeing them when we're driving on by. But we are going to continue our bumble. Oh, I've got Faith's voice back in my ear again, which is perfect. Don't know what's happening with me today. Anyway, as we continue on forward, we are going to send you back down to the bushwalk team.
Well, good luck, Lauren, on your continuation of your journey in the Mara. As you can see, we have continued on our journey, and while we haven't found honey in Columba, we have found a very beautiful female spider who is just as effective at killing things as what those two would be. Now, what's been nice this morning is that we've managed to find the two kind of prominent orb web spiders that we see in this area. Obviously, we had the garden orb web to start things off, and then this golden orb web. And like I say, that's the female on top. I'm battling to get anywhere near her because there's just spider web everywhere. But she's very, very large and very colorful, and is very kind of easy to identify with that sort of gold, orange sort of coloration and then those black markings. She really has got incredible kind of markings on her abdomen and on her body. And again, much like the garden orb, it's basically just to tell everybody that she is venomous and therefore don't eat her. All right, so that's why she has that coloration. Now, on the flip side of that, because she's so colorful and she spends a lot of time right out in the open in the web, the male is a very, very different creature. Now, in the middle of her web, I actually can't even point it out because the web is sort of three-dimensional, which you might not be able to see. But there is a male that is sitting behind all of those insect carcasses, or her cache. There is a male that is sitting there, and you'll notice that he is in comparison very, very drab and much, much smaller than what she is. So he is tiny in comparison to her. And the reason why he's so much smaller is because effectively his job is to mate with her, and then he pretty much gets eaten by her, and that's the end of his life. He doesn't really do too much more. She's much larger to be able to, one, catch food, and two, to somehow protect her eggs in the time that it takes for her to lay them and all of those kind of things. So she has a lot of work that she needs to do, and therefore she's much bigger and more brightly colored in order to deter predation. But what's amazing with these guys is that you'll find that this male, he has to play a certain kind of beat. Some grey hornbills that are going over. A certain kind of beat on the web so that he's not considered to be a food source. And when he comes along, he'll have to kind of slowly approach her. And if he doesn't do it right, she'll grab him and eat him before he even gets a chance to mate with her. So it's a very, very kind of tricky process for him in terms of being able to mate with her. He's got to be very careful about how he does things. Now, Ginger, will they build this web every single day? No. So this web is built, and it's hopefully will stay upright for as long as possible. Obviously, there are animals that move through it every now and then, and they do break it. And then you'll find they'll have to rebuild and redo things. But typically with orb web spiders, they build their web, and that's how it stays for quite some time. Now, I don't know if you noticed when you could see the male is that the coloration of the web is really quite interesting with these guys. It's where they've gotten the name golden orb web. Even though they have gold coloration on them, their actual web itself has this beautiful yellow gold kind of tinge to it, and it's probably best seen either on the anchor lines, or when they build in the middle of their web, they'll often spin that yellow kind of sort of web to be able to just sort of highlight the middle of the web and keep animals away. So it's difficult for me. I can't get to where she is because of how three-dimensional it is. But inside there, where I'm pointing, I mean, Seb will be able to probably see it better. There's a very golden color. Can you see it, Seb?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a thickening of the web over there. that is very, very, very gold, and that will be kind of that different coloration. And it's amazing that she can spin some web that is gold like that, and other webs that are normal kind of whitish coloration, which is very, very interesting to me. I think it's amazing that she has the ability to spin so many different types as she goes. Now, their webs are one of the strongest that we get out here. She's got incredibly strong stay lines on this particular web. I mean, you can pull branches with her web. It's pretty amazing. So if you look here, I can pull from here, and you can see, look how much that guarri bush is going to move when I pull. So that's how flexible and how strong a very, very fine piece of silk is from these guys. They really do have incredibly strong webs that are around. Now, Jasmine, is she venomous? Yes, she is venomous, but not to us as people. All right, so to all of these little insects that you see piled inside the middle of her web there, that's all just bits of insect. She was very venomous to them, but to us as people, our blood and the amount of blood we have, we're able to overpower it. And if you read any of the documents, it pretty much says that they are of no medical importance to people in terms of when they inject you. The problem is with these guys, and where somebody might run into an issue with an orb web spider, is if you look at the size of her, she's got massive chelicerae, or fangs, if you want to call it that. And if those go into you, it's going to be painful, sure. But they might have some sort of dirt on them, which could potentially cause a secondary infection to take place. So you get a little bit of bacterial infection in there. Rather than the actually venom of the spider, it could just be a secondary infection because of the size of those fangs and the amount of dirt that might get deposited inside of there. But the actual venom of the spider shouldn't cause any ill effects to you. You should be absolutely fine if you get hit by one of these guys. Amazingly beautiful creature, though. Now, while we're sitting here, there's also a reason why we stopped with her, is not only because she's really pretty and it's nice to talk about these things, but we are on the tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba, very, very fresh tracks of the two of them. We found where they were lying on the road. We found all of those kind of things. And the tracks themselves were over the top of a male leopard track. Now, the male leopard track went to the carcass. I'm pretty sure he stole it and then has left and was going up Drakensberg Road, and we kind of were discussing it, and we radioed that the tracks were there, and they found then Tingana exactly where we thought we would find him, which was at Guarri Pan. So the guys got there before we did, and they found Tingana lying there. So Tingana must have stolen that kill, and that's why they're not there. And then Thandi and Tlalamba have come into this block, and so they're somewhere very close by, because their tracks are much fresher than Tingana's, and Tingana is not far from where we are now. So I'm pretty sure she's somewhere close by. It's so thick at the moment that, I mean, the chance of seeing her in this is almost impossible. If she hears us or sees us first, she's going to be gone before we even know it. So we're trying to see what we can do and see if we can find them, but it's going to be very, very tricky. And so while we look around, let's send you back across to Rusty, who's now traded his wild dog for a hyena.
Okay, it's getting quite interesting here. We've had two hyenas now come past us with the wild dog still lying in the shade in front of us. We believe this is one of the males. We had what we believe might have been Comet go past. I believe the hyenas has gone right around us. He's coming to investigate what the dogs are up to. But nothing's been happening. There he is. Yep, I think he's using the vehicle as like a safe barrier between him and the dogs. He's just done a complete loop around the dogs and us. I'm just trying to look in my ID kit, see if I know him. It's got a very obvious square notch in the ear, which I'm trying to follow up now, and I don't have it. No. No. Actually, I should have actually... Well, we've got it on film, so we will see. Well, the dogs haven't moved much. The sun is moving, and so they're being a bit more exposed to the sun, so they will get up and move back into the shade. Let's see if we can just move forward a little bit. So these hyenas are just taking a chance with the dogs to see if the dogs will hunt. So we will see. I don't think they're going to move anytime soon. That is a very good idea. If anyone had any idea who that hyena was, please let us know on Twitter, #SafariLive, or on the YouTube channel. Please, I would like to know. There was one earlier, we didn't capture it, but he moved off, what we think was Comet. Just judging by the stripes on the side, but we're not too sure. So yeah, if you do have any idea who that hyena that just done a loop around us was, please let me know, or let us know. They are far away from the Djuma den. It might be part of the family. but we're not too sure. I can't leave these dogs for a minute because I'm just worried if they get up and go, we want to follow them. And I'm actually deciding what I want to do. And so it's very hard to say when the next time I'm going to see them. So I can't lose a minute of this. And it's been so long since I've actually been able to spend this much time with them. As much as they are very relaxed. Heart. The first hyena. Did we have footage of the first hyena? The one that's just walked around us. Heart. I thought about that, the one that's just walked around us because of the notch in the ear. I don't think you saw what we thought was Comet. Yes, looking here, you think it was Heart. I'm going to agree with you and go with it. That's excellent. Thank you very much. It was Heart. That notch in the ear should have been a very clear giveaway for me. Yes, I am 100% going to agree with you as well. Thank you very much for your help. Now, if you are a wild dog expert or have been following the packs around here, you can also ID these wild dogs for me. I've just had a message came in, and we believe that this pack we're watching now is the Mbali breakaway pack. Okay, 2 prominent white spots. Are we talking about the wild dogs? I believe so. Yeah, they're all like piled on top of each other here, and there's a few missing that are further in the grass. If they keep moving, okay, the alpha male apparently has 2 prominent white spots on the back. If they get up and move, I'll let you know, but right now, I'm not too sure. The one's having a very good scratch, and that is definitely a male. Is this one? Prominent white spots on the back. Is this the one? I'm not too sure. What is prominent? They all got very prominent white markings, but white spots. I really need to go through on the right side. That is the right side. It could be. To me, those are 2. Do you agree with me, Craig? White spots, right side. It is male. Who knows? Oh, it's having a good scratch. Very good scratch. Oh, I've actually got a dog that lies exactly like that. I'm not going to use the word we call her when she does that. Oh, going into the shade where it's cooler. No. So it's actually been very exciting. It's been very exciting with having 2 packs in close proximity of each other. And yeah, I believe because they're napping so much, I'm not too sure if they had a rough night. They are sometimes active at night, and they do sometimes hunt at night. Not all the time, but the moon was actually very bright last night, so they could have actually been on the hunt. But because without bellies being full, I don't think they were lucky. But who knows, they could have been disturbed by leopards, lions, and they might have had to move out the area. So they might have moved, a great distance last night, and that's why they're taking a nap now. But as you can see, they're very family orientated, very close family knit group, and they do rely on the touching. They need to actually almost touch each other. Excuse me, just to rely on each other. It is a big problem even when it comes to diseases like distemper or rabies. If one gets it, they all get it. So it is a very harsh environment for them at the moment. But if there's a very healthy, strong pack, this bonding keeps them very close together. Oh, cuddles. Chris, do wild dogs smell like hyenas do? That is, they're pretty clean animals. I'm sure around the den site it can be quite smelly, but I did actually, where we were downwind from them, I could smell them. They do have quite a pungent, almost urine smell. It's not strong, but you can definitely notice that they are there. I have been in an area where I worked at a rehab center for a short while with wild dogs, and that smell was very pungent, but because they couldn't move out the area, as much as they cleaned those large enclosures, the smell was very pungent, so I never forget that smell. But in open areas like this, they are very clean animals. They do go back to a permanent den site, where if they have puppies, but then after, when the puppies are a few weeks, even a few months old, when their pups are a few months old, they will move to a new den site, or even follow a short distance away when they hunt and let a nanny or one of the youngsters or one of the mothers stay with them. So as they are not doing much at the moment and we are going to stay with them, we are going to hand you over back to Lauren, who's on the Mara River.
Well, we decided to swing by the river on our bumble because we were headed in that direction, and I think it's nice sometimes just to give you an update on the river, how it's flowing, how it's looking, and of course if anything is happening. Now, there was 2 hippos having a bit of a battle when we first arrived, but it seems to have died down. Oh, there's another group of hippos that are sort of battling it out. Hippos are just notorious for just clashing with one another. They tend to hang around in big groups, which is, well, in quite close proximity to one another, and yet they just don't appear to like each other very, very much, and they're always engaging in some sort of clash, especially the males, much more so than females, but they're just terrible for it. I don't think I've ever had a wonderful view of a hippo sighting where they're not engaging in some sort of battle. Now, the reason we chose to come down this way, actually, was because as we were leaving the ostrich, 4 or 5 hyenas ran at full speed across the road. I haven't actually seen a hyena run or gallop in their strange manner that they do that fast in a very long time. So we kind of followed them a bit to see where they were going, but it didn't really lead us to anything. But my goodness, they were running fast. And we have a sleepy croc. Look at that face. Now, if that is not a face of relaxation, I do not know what is. Now, of course, that muddy bank there, right at the side of the river, will be nice and moist for its underbelly. So it'll keep it nice and sort of fresh underneath. And then obviously on top, it's getting the perfect heat from the sun now. It's starting to get much warmer than it was earlier on. And you can see the crocs are just absolutely loving it. The life of a croc. It isn't too difficult to be a crocodile, isn't it? And often people think that, well, they are basking, that's what they're doing because they are reptiles indeed, but they also do this if they need to cool down. They also do sort of position themselves on the bank of rivers and they will open their mouth quite wide. And it's not always just to heat up, it is indeed to cool down as well. So crocodiles do that. They indeed will lie in the sun, not just to warm up, but to cool down also. So a lot of people mistake that they're always just getting heat, but obviously when they get too hot, they will, of course, need to cool down as well. Now, crocodiles on land are very amusing, if you ever see them. They've got short legs, and of course they do have clawed feet, and actually their back feet are webbed. So they sort of are able, their front feet sort of give them the traction that they do need to walk on land whenever they're walking on land. But their webbed hind feet will obviously help them swim in water as well. So they are designed for both elements. They can sort of survive out of the water and in the water, but they aren't the most graceful animals on land. Sam is asking, would crocs eat the baby hippo? Now, It's quite an interesting question, because when you come across sort of rivers or dams, even Chitwa Dam, for example, both these animals do tend to live in really close proximity in the same environment. It's inhabited by crocs and hippos. So it's a tricky question, because from what I can observe, they avoid clashes at all times. It wouldn't benefit these animals to really engage in clashes with one another. And the fact that they do live so close to one another, I'm just keeping my eyes on these hippos here, it probably wouldn't benefit them to be enemies. Now, Tristan did have a very, very, very sad sighting at Chitwa Dam when he went there, and I believe he didn't have any signal, so he actually wasn't able to go live. But he did encounter a very sad hippo scenario, where a male hippo, I don't even think it was a dominant male, actually attacked a very young baby hippo. I'm sure many of you have heard. It was very, very sad to watch. And of course, this young baby hippo was very, very badly injured. It wasn't able to walk or move. And it was indeed eventually taken by a croc. So once the sort of male hippo had attacked it, and it was in a very bad way, shall we say, the croc did come and take it. So I don't believe the croc would actually attack a hippo, especially when it's a baby hippo and it's surrounded by its very protective mother and all these adults. However, if the opportunity presented itself like it really did that day, then of course the croc would go for it. They are animals, and they do have natural instinct, and of course any animal would take any opportunity that is presented to itself. So very interesting question, Sam, and that's sort of the best way I can think to answer it from my observations as well. Chris is asking, when and why do crocs move to different water sources? Well, for example, in a dam like Chitwa, they obviously cannot move. They will just go in and out the water, really, because if you think of Juma, their Chitwa Dam is indeed the biggest water hole that we have within that area. It would be quite a journey for a croc to get up and walk to another area, but you can actually see croc tracks around when you're driving around Chitwa. Now obviously in an ecosystem like this is a river system, so it's slightly different from a dam. The croc can move, it can go upstream or downstream. Now, we've seen crocs swimming quite far, so they would just move depending on resource availability. So if this part of the river was to get extremely dry and extremely low, then of course the croc would relocate to an area that's much better suited for it to get food and obviously to get enough water to sort of be able to go inside. So it just depends on what kind of ecosystem you're referring to, but obviously with Chitwa, I don't believe they would really leave that dam because it is the best water source or the best area for the crocs to be in. Obviously this is a river system, so it's a bit different. So I hope that answers your question, Chris. But the crocs don't need to move too far, and they are indeed reptiles, so they depend heavily on their environment, so it's not a wise idea to keep moving. So we just wanted to check in at the river, see what was happening, and obviously there's not much happening today, so we will continue our bumbling about. But for now, we're going to send you back to Tristan with something much smaller.
Indeed, something very small that is now hiding away from us. Seb, can you still see it or not? So she's in here somewhere. Where have you gone now? I'm just trying to see if I can find her. There's maybe a little hole here, Seb. Let's have a look.
I don't see her anymore.
Oh, there she is. She's just camouflaging ever so well. There, I've opened it up now, Seb. If you look straight into where my end of my grass is, I'm going to see the abdomen for her.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, so there's a little velvet ant that has hidden away in the grass stalk, so you can see when they want to camouflage, getting in amongst that where it's dark is quite easy for them. That reddish body and then that black abdomen with the white stripes blends in really well with the grass, and so you can actually hide quite nicely. You know, I'm thinking a bit of us kind of gardening to see her. I'm actually not going to sort of disturb her too much. I'm going to fold it up. Her camouflage is absolutely amazing. Now, she isn't an ant, even though I've just called her a velvet ant. You might think I'm absolutely mad because I've said velvet ant, and I'm just saying that she's not an ant because she's actually a flightless wasp called part of the Mutilidae family. So she looks like an ant and mimics an ant, but she's actually a wasp, and she's got quite a nasty little stinger on her. For us as people, it's very painful and very itchy after the pain goes away, and so handling these guys is no good. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, thank you, Seb. There's a bit of grass seed, I think, that went in my nose. So handling them is not a good idea, and that's why they've got that kind of black and white and red body. Now, something else that's very pretty is over there, and it's sitting making the most beautiful sound. So I'm going to keep quiet for. Can you hear it? The bird right of this jackalberry. So if you see it now. So it's a black-headed oriole that's making that beautiful call at the moment. There it is, standing or sitting right there calling. So I'm going to keep quiet while it calls. Isn't that cool? Oh, it's one of my favorite calls. It's such a pretty call. Now, like I said, black-headed oriole, it looks like the male that's busy making the noise up there. They're a beautiful yellow bird with that black head and red beak. Exactly, and it kind of goes against the norm. Mostly beautiful birds have ugly calls and ugly birds have beautiful calls, but this has got both. So this is kind of the supermodel call and even looks about it. It's really a very, very pretty individual. I love these guys being around in the orioles call. Actually saw some orioles in India as well, which were the Eurasian orioles, which we see here as well from time to time. But how wonderful. Normally just get brief glimpses of them, and we don't actually get the call all that often, so very vocal this morning. And this is not the full call. They have a longer call than this. This is just the sort of short call. I wonder if maybe the female is not far away and that's why it's making that noise. Very, very cool. And the camouflage is so well. If it wasn't calling, to spot that would be very, very difficult because the call is making it move. If it just sits still, you would really struggle to spot that in the canopy.
Well, the dogs are very comfortable. They don't seem to be taking notice of anything, but it is warming up. But that doesn't mean anything to them. It's not like lions or leopards. When it warms up, they tuck themselves away. These dogs are lying, most of them actually just seem to be lying directly in the sun, but one or two have taken to the shade. They plan today, I really don't know. So I would rather stay with him and see. It just takes one impala to run past or a duiker to make one move and the dogs will be up and going. And I really don't want to miss it. I am happy to spend all day with them because they are beautiful. And I can't ask them to do anything. I can't ask, see, it just takes one bird and something's up. Take a shake, think about it. No. Something's alerted them. There was an alarm call of a lapwing, which triggered it, but I don't think they are taking much notice anymore. So yes, like I said, like anything triggers the hunt or time to move. Oh, we've actually got a vehicle approaching. That might have been a distraction. But we're heading further into the grass and the cool shade. Oh well. Consulting detective. Will wild dogs hunt down ostriches? That is, I have never seen it, but I believe maybe they will take down young ostriches. I mean, it's just an opportunity to, but you have to watch out for the adults. I've seen cheetah take down young ostriches. Seen lion, seen leopard. Oh, I haven't seen leopard, I've just heard of leopard. Well, have I? Yeah. So yeah, wild dogs, I'm sure if they get an opportunity to and there's no adults around, I'm sure they would. But ostriches have got a very fast speed, hey? And they live in massive, mostly in open areas where they have a chance to flee. So I think wild dogs know not to bother them too much. But you know, what's written in books is a different thing. What's seen is, what people have seen is a different story. I have not seen it or heard of it, but I'm sure that I can't see why not. If there's an ostrich that's wounded, I'm sure it's easy prey. But if adult, full-grown, healthy ostrich, I think it's going to be quite an interesting hunt, if it actually even hunts them. But wild dogs being wild dogs, they're opportunists and might take them on. Might take it on. I'm not too sure. It depends how hungry they are, how big the pack is, and what the state of the ostrich is in. I'm sure a few youngsters that have lost their mum might be an easy target. Like I said, I've seen them hunting turkeys, or I've seen the remnants of what's left over from turkeys, of them killing turkeys. So yes, who knows, ostriches might be on the menu. I am not too sure. I can find out for you shortly. Mar, do wild dogs hunt during the night as well as during the day? I believe they have been seen hunting at night, especially when the moon is up. It's a bit more difficult, but because there's a bit more light, it's a bit more easier for them. But it's not often the case. They're mostly not diurnal animals. They mostly hunt in early morning and late evening when it cools down a little bit. But I've seen them hunt in the middle of the day heat. So when the opportunity arises, they will take it on. If they haven't been able to hunt most of the day, then they will move the hunt on to the evening, into the night. But they are very vulnerable to predators at night, to the larger cats. So they won't often do hunt at night, but they have been known to. I would actually like to follow dogs at night and actually see the full habits of them. I always seem to leave them at like last light and actually don't know what they do often after dark. I've never had that opportunity to. So I'm hoping while I'm here, I get to witness a bit more activity of what they do at night. They've got massive ears, hey? So their hearing is brilliant. I don't think they miss out on any sounds out there, no matter how quiet it is. I'm sure they can hear the hoofbeats of Impala walking a good kilometre away. Lionheart. I didn't get the full name, but I definitely got the other half of it, Lionheart. You said they've got very long legs. Yes, they are built for distance, for long distance. They're almost like the greyhounds of the bush. They are built for massive distances, and they've got this ability to go into a jog that can last hours, and they can cover long, massive distances. They cover their full territory. So their legs will carry them a long way. They're very fit, very lean. The only time you ever see them, a fat wild dog, is when they've just fed. Otherwise, they always look a bit scrawny. But that's just because of their high metabolism. Once upon a time, when I was a lot younger, I seemed to have the same problem. But now, as you get older, as with everybody, your metabolism catches up with you. So yes, these legs, they are built for distance, so those legs carry them for a long way. Okay, we're going to head back to Tristan on the bushwalk.
Indeed, you are back with us, and we're just admiring the beauty of the days. It's absolutely wonderful, wonderful weather. It's warm in the sun, but in the shade there's a bit of a breeze, which is quite nice, and the sky is blue and not too many clouds, which is really, really nice. Hopefully it doesn't get too hot, because with the lack of power that we've been having, it starts to get very stuffy, and today's going to be a bad day, apparently, from the lack of power point of view. So we hear that we will be having no power for probably close on 7 hours of our day today, which is a lot in terms of not being able to get things done. But you know what, there's worse things. Makes you read a book or do something like that, which is good news. And there's a pool, isn't there, Seb?
Yes.
Exactly, bud. So it's all good. But it's been a wonderful morning. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself on walk this morning. Seb, it's been nice easing into walk, hasn't it? Nice, gentle walk this morning. It was very, very pleasant, that's for sure. IV vapor, do I carry hand sanitizer on walk? No, not at all. So all the things we pick up and stuff, yeah, I know what you're going to say. We should be washing our hands after it, and we do when we get back to camp. But carrying hand sanitizer, I don't know. I feel like when you pick up these things, and you just make your immune system stronger in many respects. And you know, it's quite interesting to see how few times people actually get sick out here in comparison to the cities, and I'm sure it's because we don't use hand sanitizers on everything. We kind of tend to spend a lot of time with just, you know, being out in the bush and handling things, and I think your immune system develops quite well because of it. So definitely don't carry it with me. I mean, some do. I know Taylor used to carry some on the car, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Seb, you don't carry it, do you? No, Seb and I are the same. We just try and kind of use it. But anyway, it's been a wonderful morning. We're on our way back for breakfast. We've called in reinforcements to pick us up and take us home, because we're still very far away. But hopefully you enjoyed the morning. Hopefully you enjoyed all the things in the Mara, which seemed like there was lots going on there with Lauren. And then obviously you're so glad that Rusty managed to get the dogs this morning, which is very, very special. And lots to look forward to this afternoon with tracks of Tundi and Tlalamba and Tingana. So from all of us, been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you all this afternoon for our sunset safari.